I travel from one world to another doing wholesale sales, and you call this the end of the world? This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 401, Fallen. Tell me more details, Commander Harry said with a dissatisfied look on his face. This guy is brainless, and he has to ask them one by one. Yes, Wick quickly told the whole process. It's not that he doesn't have good eyesight, but he is afraid that he will make mistakes if he speaks too much and cause unnecessary trouble. The identities of these people are relatively special, and they are generally not used easily, but once exposed, they will face the fate of being cleared out. But after listening to Wick's statement, Commander Harry fell into silence. He didn't speak, and the others around him held their breath for fear of disturbing him. At this time, Su Wei, who was standing aside and listening, felt a little embarrassed. Am I that powerful? Why do I feel so awesome when I hear others describe me? I can't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. No, you must have been exposed. In the silence, Commander Harry suddenly stood up and pointed at Wick and said firmly. Oh why? Wick's face turned pale in an instant, and the others around him also showed surprised expressions. According to your description, Su Wei is enough to kill Guo Minglian in seconds, and you are not even strong enough to fight against Guo Minglian. So, if the other party wants to kill you, you will never be able to escape. The only explanation now is that Su Wei deliberately let you go. He wants to play the long game to catch the big fish. Facing everyone's doubts, Harry explained. Everyone was shocked when they heard it. It really sounded so reasonable. Clap, clap, clap. At this moment, a burst of applause came, scaring everyone to death. Commander Harry instantly locked onto the source of the sound and hurriedly looked at the staircase leading to the third floor. It doesn't matter if you don't look, but you will be shocked when you look. The empty staircase, there is nothing. But he is 100% sure that he heard it right. The sound came from there. Don't doubt it, you are right. Just when Commander Harry was in doubt, a calm voice came. The air at the staircase fluctuated like water waves, and a man in black clothes appeared. Neat and tidy hair, handsome face. The corners of his mouth were raised with a wicked smile. Su Wei, not only Commander Harry, but most of the people in the living room couldn't help but exclaim. This was their primary goal of sneaking into Daksha this time. However, they never thought that the other party had the ability to be invisible. But it seemed wrong. The invisibility they knew could not make clothes invisible. Coupled with Wick's previous description, a mysterious and powerful sense of oppression swept over. Even Commander Harry, who was the strongest, felt a little pressure. What are you doing here? Commander Harry asked calmly. To cover up his inner tension. Of course I'm here to kill you, but before I die, I want to ask you a few questions. I hope everyone can cooperate, Su Wei replied with a wicked smile. As if it was a trivial matter. However, this smile made everyone shudder. Especially Wick, who felt almost suffocated. Because this is enough to prove Commander Harry's statement that he was deliberately let go by the man in front of him. Like a cat catching a mouse, he played with it in his hands. Fuck Su Wei, who do you think you are, a strong man of the heavenly Dao? Commander Harry suddenly burst out with a strong breath. Oh, it turns out to be the Emperor level. By the way, did you report to my Daksha before? Su Wei still had a calm face. Generally speaking, the Emperor level is generally not allowed to enter. Then the guy in front of him must have sneaked in. Humph, I go wherever I want, this is my freedom, Commander Harry said proudly. The United States has been rampant for decades, and these people's arrogance comes from this. Do you still think it's the past? Let me tell you, Daksha now is not a place where you can come and go as you please. Snap. Su Wei said, and snapped his fingers. Almost at the same time, except for Commander Harry, all the other personnel fell to the ground like broken sacks. Commander Harry couldn't help but feel a chill on his back. How did the other party do it? Sleepyhead potion, let me know, Su Wei smiled evilly again. He opened a bottle of Sleepyhead potion before he showed up, and he took a breath potion beforehand. The reason why he said so much was to wait for the effect of the potion to take effect. So now the whole living room is filled with Sleepyhead potion. However, I didn't expect Commander Harry to have a strong resistance. This is not enough. You poisoned, Commander Harry was surprised. It was able to release several king level in such a short time, and the key is that it is colorless and tasteless, which is very scary. Commander Harry hurriedly held his breath. Unfortunately, it was too late. Waves of dizziness came. Correct answer, but unfortunately there is no reward, Su Wei answered casually. Bang! In the end, Commander Harry, who was at the early stage of the Emperor level, was unable to resist the sleepyhead in the wasteland world, which shows how domineering he is. At this time, the two guards on the roof heard the exclamation and rushed down. Unfortunately, he was no match for Su Wei, and his neck was broken in a few moves. What value does a small guard like him have? He was killed. After Su Wei confirmed that the outer guards were not alarmed, he took out a new alloy chain from the space and locked up all the people in the living room. As for Harry, who is an emperor, Su Wei added a mutant beast tendon to prevent accidents. After confirming that everything was correct, Su Wei opened the awakening potion for the sleepy bug. Although the sleepy bug is just a potion that causes coma, and the infected will eventually wake up on their own, sometimes in order to facilitate operation, Su Wei asked Qin Lao to prepare a drug similar to an antidote. It can wake up people who have been infected with the sleepy bug in advance. When everyone woke up, they found themselves tied up and stuffed in their mouths, and they were immediately shocked. But no matter how they struggled, they could not break the metal chains on their bodies. An alien with the power of fire also tried to burn the metal chains with fire. But the toughness of the metal chains was far beyond their imagination. All efforts were in vain. But Su Wei would not indulge them. He came up and crushed the throat of the flame alien, turning it into a corpse. At this time, everyone realized that Su Wei was not just bragging, and he really came to kill them. Suddenly, everyone was so scared that they dared not breathe, and could only look at Su Wei with angry and unwilling eyes. Su Wei did not waste time, and made arrangements directly with the Truth Serum Potion. Chapter 402 Continuation. The first to bear the brunt was naturally Commander Harry. The strength of the Emperor-level strongman showed a certain resistance to the Truth Serum Potion, but in the end he was forced into a state of confusion. He kept vomiting out what he knew. Su Wei selected a few more king levels and drank the Truth Serum Potion to verify whether Commander Harry's confession was true. It is better to be careful of the Emperor level. It turned out that Commander Harry did not lie. The ins and outs of the matter gradually became clear. This group of people belonged to the Avengers of the United States. Harry was the right-hand man of the Avengers boss Gale. But they are not normal Avengers. Instead, they are an alternative and special branch of the Avengers. They are called the Redeemers. Their members are very messy, including criminals, death row prisoners, orphans, and stowaways. They are all kinds of things and are in a mess. But they all have one thing in common, that is, they are forgotten by the whole world. They have no identity, no files, and some even have no names, only a code name. They live in a dark training camp, receiving the most brutal training and the most perverted reinforcement. Those who survive will live. Those who can't survive will die. No one cares about their life or death. Because they are like a seed, unless they can take root and sprout and bloom brilliant flowers. Otherwise, they will not be noticed. And the only thing that supports these people to live is hatred. Just like Guo Minglian, he carries a deep hatred. Once they have learned something, the organization will give them a chance to revenge. Of course, the price is to serve the organization for a lifetime and never leave. The obsession with hatred can make some people burst out with extraordinary potential. It is precisely by taking advantage of this point that the Redeemer has been successful. Not only did he get free experimental subjects, but he could also create a group of die-hard thugs. Because he has no identity, he can do some dirty things to his heart's content. Even if he is caught, it will not cause any harm to the Avengers. If Commander Harry, the big fish, had not been caught this time, the situation would not be so clear. Another American after Su Wei sorted out his confession, he couldn't help but say hatefully. At this moment, he wanted to throw 2 Kunpeng intercontinental missiles over. However, thinking about the chain reaction that might be caused, he had to give up. He didn't want the Third World War to break out. However, these people, of course, must pay the price for their actions. He took out the Pajin from the space and directly slaughtered an emperor and several kings. Although there are also Xia people here, they are all traitors bought by the United States. For their own selfish desires, they provide cover and intelligence for these shady aliens. The harm of these people is greater, more, and more unforgivable than these foreigners. Therefore, Su Wei did not show mercy and directly cleaned up the door. Even the guards on the periphery were not spared. If you don't cut the grass at the root, it will grow again in the spring breeze. The bodies were piled up in the 3-story building, and he called Hanlong. Let them wash it. Then, Su Wei disappeared again. When Su Wei reappeared, he had returned to Hutu City and lived a peaceful life. Boom. In the Avengers headquarters in the United States, Gale's office was blown up by an invisible airflow. Just now, he received the news that Su Wei arrived in Hutu City safely, and the news that the Redeemer Commander Harry lost contact. How could an Emperor level lose contact? There is only one result, that is, death. Although the Avengers are powerful, there are only a limited number of Emperor level masters. It is extremely difficult to train one. Not to mention, he and Harry have a comrade-in-arms friendship. So, when he heard that Harry lost contact, Gale's energy could no longer be held back and exploded. Come on, mobilize all the Avengers for me, let's charge into Daksha. Gale's cold voice resounded throughout the Avengers headquarters. Your Excellency, Daksha is currently on alert. If we go there at this time, I'm afraid, the assistant who rushed over hurriedly persuaded carefully. Today's Daksha is no longer what it used to be. The quiet rise of Xianlong has made it as powerful as the Avengers. Moreover, the 100 sets of HX-1 power armor purchased by Daksha are for Xianlong. According to intelligence, Xianlong has specially set up a 100-man squadron named Jianlong. Not only are they equipped with power armor, but they are all gold level. This strength is frightening. Not to mention the old guys in the Eternal Palace. Huh? Find someone to clean it up, I'll go out and be quiet. Hearing the assistant's dissuasion, Gale gradually calmed down. Of course, he knew that it was not realistic to kill them directly. The death of Harry, his friend and comrade-in-arms, made him so angry that he lost control. Yes, wave death, the assistant nodded and agreed. Gale in anger was like an ancient beast that chose people to eat. Anyone around him would be terrified. Some are happy and some are sad. Just when Gale was in unbearable grief, Long Zhenyu smiled from ear to ear. The turmoil in Zhucheng has subsided. Not only did no big mess happen, but many important members of the other side were killed. Especially Harry, that is a big boss on the list. He has been hiding in the gray area for many years, and it is difficult to meet him. He has planned and executed many outrageous cases. In Xianlong, his case files are piled up like a mountain. Unexpectedly, this time, Su Wei easily cleaned it up. Moreover, according to the information provided by Su Wei, several enemy hideouts were destroyed. Let Zhucheng and the surrounding environment be proud of Zhaoking. As for where the information came from, of course it was Harry's confession, and those traitors provided it. You don't know until you check it out, and you will be shocked when you check it out. No one would have thought that Lao Mi has infiltrated all walks of life. Zhucheng is such a small place, but it harbors a large number of foreign aliens, and weapons such as rocket launchers are transported in. This is simply a naked slap in the face of Xianlong. If it weren't for Su Wei, a tough guy, who happened to meet him this time, I don't know how many forces Lao Mi has deployed in Zhucheng. For this reason, Daksha started a new round of cleanup and thorough investigation. Foreigners were strictly investigated and punished, and no leniency was tolerated. Once discovered, they were dealt with immediately. For a time, foreigners hiding in Daksha fled the country one after another. The underground world of Daksha was cleaned up, and many violent people were eliminated, returning the world to the people. Although these actions were carried out without the knowledge of ordinary people, the difference in atmosphere could still be clearly felt. Chapter 403, Do Something. After more than 10 days of digestion and absorption, the Phaeton base returned to a stable stage. Of course, this is a stable state after reaching a certain level. At the same time, a large number of zombies began to pour into the southern district of Jinquan City. This shows that the zombies in the city center have migrated. This is not a good sign. However, facing the tide of millions of zombies, Phaeton is currently unable to stop it and can only withdraw from the southern district of Jinquan City in disappointment. Fortunately, this time the harvest is not cheap. The things moved back directly filled the warehouse of the base, and many were piled up on the idle land outside the base, like a hill. It is quite spectacular. This has also become a beautiful landscape outside the Phaeton base. After tea and dinner, the survivors who were taking a walk would come here to take a look. Every time I see it, I will unconsciously feel full of happiness. Wait, the survivors of the wasteland are taking a walk? Yes, you heard it right. Today's Phaeton base occupies a radius of several kilometers, and the safety range has radiated to dozens of kilometers around. It can be said that within this area, even at night, there are very few free zombies and nocturnal mutants. Because once they appear, they will be directly killed by the base's defense system or the patrolling Phaeton army. Over time, under the animal nature of seeking benefits and avoiding harm, the mutants began to stay away from this area. As for zombies, the southern area is empty. For a period of time, it is estimated that no zombies will come here. In addition, Su Wei ordered people to set up a blocking net and have someone responsible for cleaning it. Even if there are a small number of zombies, they can't come here. The sense of security of the survivors in the base has been greatly improved. If it weren't for the fact that the current human air control is still very weak, they can leave their doors open at night. Unfortunately, the wasteland world is still a wasteland world. After a few days of peace, Su Wei entered the combat meeting room of the armed forces again. Boss, the demon realm has recently transferred personnel frequently. I am afraid there will be a big operation. Wei Jun displayed the information sent back from the demon realm recently on the floating holographic image. It can be seen that the demon realm is not only mobilizing personnel, but also collecting a large amount of supplies. This shows that there are signs of an expedition. Although we don't know what the other party's purpose is, but everyone knows that the first to strike is the strongest, and the last to strike will suffer. Everyone's eyes turn to Su Wei. What the boss points to, everyone follows. How many armaments does Phaeton have now? Su Wei did not rush to draw a conclusion, but asked Wang Boang on the side. Boss, Phaeton currently has 20,000 armed personnel, but there are only 10,000 super soldiers equipped with power armor, Wang Boang introduced in a general way. Thanks to the large number of intelligent robots moved back from the South District, Phaeton's labor force has been further liberated. In addition to the survivors dispatched from the Longhu base, the number of Phaeton troops has skyrocketed. Unfortunately, the production capacity of power armor is limited and cannot meet the needs of personnel growth. However, this is not a big problem. The sufficient supply of strengthening potions and energy potions has allowed the average strengthening level of ordinary soldiers to reach above level 6, and the special forces are even more terrifying with an average of more than 3 stars. Not to mention the elites in the special forces, most of them have reached the level of 5 or 6 stars. Such a terrifying level of enhancement is definitely unique in the wasteland. So it is not an exaggeration to say that Phaeton soldiers can fight against 100. Good, very good. Strike first to gain the upper hand. No matter what the demon realm intends to do this time, let's teach him a lesson first. Let him know who is the boss. After listening to Wang Boang's report, Su Wei said proudly, Phaeton's development has once again reached a bottleneck. In the final analysis, it is still a population problem. After all, no matter how powerful artificial intelligence is, it can never replace humans. Yes, boss. Everyone's face suddenly showed excitement. After the baptism of the corpse tide, Phaeton still stood firm. This undoubtedly brought great confidence to everyone. The dream of a paradise is one step closer. Zhang Ling, Yuna, collect 8,000 super soldiers, depart in 3 days, Su Wei then ordered. Yes, boss. Zhang Ling and Yuna immediately stood up and agreed. New orders were issued. After a few days of silence, the Phaeton base was boiling again. Su Wei also began to prepare actively. The vanguard troops set out on the journey that afternoon. Their mission was to escort a batch of supplies to the Phoenix Nest base. The food and grass must be sent before the troops move. Another reason is that the Phoenix Nest is closer to the demon realm, so it will become a springboard for the Phaeton army to attack the demon realm. At the same time, the repaired Black Phoenix will also fly to the Phoenix Nest base to stand by in case of emergency. The Industrial Titan started again, and its mission this time was to open up the highway between Phaeton and Phoenix Nest. The vanguard troops will eliminate all threats on Xiaoqing Road so that it can work smoothly. After the arrangements were made, Su Wei returned to the modern world. He accompanied his family and several girls and dealt with some necessary matters. Everyone was accustomed to this, and kept silent about the separation, just silently enjoying the time of reunion. The day before the army set out, Su Wei returned to the Phaeton base to make the final confirmation. But to his surprise, Ma Xiao actually came with her 1,000 hidden wolf cavalry. Why don't you stay in Longhu and train your wolf cavalry? Why are you running here? Su Wei looked at the fully armed Ma Xiao with curiosity. What was rare was that her super follower Mazaelin did not follow. I heard that you are going to attack the demon realm, Mazaeo asked instead of answering. Yes, what's the matter? Su Wei also asked curiously. I want to go too, Mazaeo said decisively and unquestionably. If you leave, what will happen to the Longhu base? Su Wei got a headache when he heard it. Why don't you find someone to manage it? I'm just a messenger anyway, what does it matter whether I'm here or not? Mazaeo couldn't help but have a little melancholy on her face. She became the queen of Longhu as she wished. However, she was not as happy as she had imagined before. There were countless things that needed her to make decisions all day long, and countless conflicts and disputes that needed her to reconcile. It was annoying to think about it. How could it be? I told you that Longhu has a high degree of autonomy, as long as it doesn't betray Huden. Su Wei was stunned when he heard this. Is this still the arrogant queen? What on earth has she been through? She is like a woman in the boudoir. Oh, just find someone to do it. I don't want to be a queen, I want to be a general who leads troops to fight. Mazaeo couldn't help but throw a tantrum. No, you have to at least let me know what happened. Su Wei was confused. Chapter 404 Creator. Boss, after this period of practice, I found that I am not a qualified manager. Perhaps creation is my strength, so let me expand the territory for you. After Su Wei's repeated questioning, Mazaeo finally confessed. Although it was a bit embarrassing, she didn't want to give in like this, because she was afraid that she would lose her edge over time. Oh, so that's the case. Then how are these hidden wolf cavalry trained? Su Wei nodded after hearing this. It's easy to conquer a country, but it's hard to keep it. The arrogant Mazaeo is indeed not suitable for the court. The battlefield seems to be a better place to show her talents. Don't worry, boss, these 1,000 hidden wolf cavalry have passed the basic training. What they lack now is practical experience. You know, this can only be obtained on the battlefield, so I brought them here. I was afraid of missing this rare opportunity. Also, I have a good news for you. I have broken through and am now a 6-star evolver. I can control 1,000 mutant wolves at the same time, so there will be no problem. Besides, I killed the Black Fox. How can I be missing in the battle of the demon realm? Mazaeo patted her chest and promised. The alloy-forged breastplate was pounded by her, which made people a little worried. Okay, go get supplies. I agree. Su Wei's eyes lit up when he heard it. Being able to control 1,000 mutant wolves, this ability is a bit against the sky. It's just right to go to the battlefield to test the power of the hidden wolf. Yes, boss. Mazaeo left happily immediately. But before leaving, she flirted with Su Wei with a seductive wink. Oh my god, fairy, Su Wei was shocked accidentally. He had arranged Mazaeo's affairs. Then the question came. Who should be sent to manage the Longhu base? You know, its scale is even larger than that of the Phaeton. Finally, Su Wei could only find Songdan. Sister Song, do you have a suitable candidate? Su Wei told Songdan what happened and asked immediately. Well boss, I think we can send Wuma to try, Songdan replied after careful consideration. Wuma? Su Wei was stunned when he heard it. Isn't she the minister of the Ministry of Law? Yes, Wuma handles interpersonal relationships very well. Longhu's personnel are more complicated than Phaeton. I think she is the most suitable person to send, Songdan explained. Well, okay, I'll leave it to you to arrange it. As I said, give people when you need people and give things when you need things. Longhu is equivalent to a solid door for us, so it must be built well. Su Wei took the opportunity to pass on the blame. Songdan is better than him in management, so it is better to leave it to professionals. Okay, no problem. Songdan immediately accepted the order. In fact, Longhu is surprisingly stable at present. If it had not experienced the last battle with the Blood Fortress, it might not be so. But the strength of the Phaeton Expeditionary Force and the invincible figure of the Black Phoenix, they are deeply imprinted in the hearts of the survivors of the Longhu base. With such a powerful backer, there is no need to worry that life will not get better. Then, Phaeton not only withstood the siege of nearly 1 million corpses, but also killed an emperor-level alien species. Such news reached Longhu, which further strengthened the survivors' determination to hold it high. It is precisely because of this that Mazaeo, the queen, has become a decoration. The people are all obedient to Phaeton. What else can she, the queen, do except being a messenger? Therefore, no matter who it is, As long as they are managers recognized by Phaeton, Long who will accept them. The next morning, the prepared Phaeton expeditionary force set off as scheduled. They marched towards the Fengchao base in a mighty manner. With the efforts of industrial titan day and night, the highway was successfully open to traffic, so it only takes 2 or 3 hours to travel by car. As for Ma Xiao and her hidden wolf cavalry, they set out yesterday after receiving supplies. According to her plan, they would not settle in the Fengchao base, but would go directly to the border between Jingquan City and Menghe City to serve as the vanguard and scout of the Phaeton expeditionary force. This journey was both training and actual combat. Su Wei also agreed with this. It was just right to test the outdoor survival ability of the hidden wolf cavalry. Without supplies, they crossed nearly 1,000 miles. When they arrived at the Fengchao base, Su Wei couldn't help but take Zhang Ling and Yu Not to revisit the old place. There was no major change, but a large area was cleaned up and the energy core was repaired. The underground base was restored to operation. As for the above-ground part, it will be cleaned up one by one. Those broken power armors will also be recycled one by one to add bricks and tiles to the new power armor. However, Su Wei ordered that the area where the Dabei people were buried should not be touched, and that it should be separated and protected independently. The higher the level of the mutant beast, the higher the wisdom it possesses. Dabei already has a certain affection, so it is reasonable to protect the burial place of its people. What's more, Dabei has been working for the base. This time, Su Wei did not let Yuna bring Dabei, and even Zhang Ling's partner Xiaobei stayed at the Phaeton base. After all, this time the Phaeton army is full of elite troops, and even the Black Phoenix has been transferred to the Phoenix Nest to be on standby at any time. How can we not leave some assets? Therefore, Dabei, Xiaobei, Thor, Zuan Wu Shield, etc. all stayed to guard the house. Alice Phaeton seems powerful, but it is still limited. Therefore, there is still a long way to go on the road to becoming stronger. After a short rest, after leaving 1,000 people to guard the base and supplies, the others continued on the road. The road ahead is not so smooth. Not only do they have to cross mountains and ridges, but they also have to build roads and bridges to ensure that the accompanying supplies can pass. Fortunately, everyone is equipped with power armor, which will not consume a lot of physical strength and can always maintain the best combat state. In addition, with a great innovation of Phaeton energy and weapons, a large number of small energy weapons are prepared for the army, which greatly reduces the pressure on logistics. There is no need to transport tons of ammunition supplies. Just prepare enough micro-energy cores to meet the battle. For example, the super-energy electromagnetic rifle of the assaulter only needs a thumb-sized energy core to enable it to fight uninterruptedly for several days. Therefore, 2 energy cores per person are enough to support a war. As for the alloy warhead, it is much smaller than similar kinetic bullets, and there is no danger of explosion source, so it can be transported intensively. The transportation volume is naturally greatly increased. The load capacity of the power armor alone is enough for an assaulter to continue fighting for several days. And don't forget, the enhancer itself is a powerful combat weapon. Even without relying on power armor and weapons, it can cause great damage with physical strength alone. Therefore, in addition to food and water, the current logistical supplies are mainly aimed at firepower-intensive output units such as sweepers. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 405, Holding Back. After several days of marching, the Phaeton expeditionary force arrived at a deserted town called Yongning. After clearing the remaining zombies and the mutant beasts around, the army built a camp based on the ruins of the town. Camouflage nets were pulled everywhere to hide the army. Because, further ahead, there were a large number of adventure teams of survivors from the demon realm, which could easily expose the whereabouts of the army. This news was brought by Ma Xiao's hidden wolf cavalry. Yongning town was also the place she had chosen for Su Wei to station the army. The place was secretive and remote, and at the same time it was only more than 100 kilometers away from the border of the demon realm. It was a very ideal strategic location. Facts have proved that the hidden wolf cavalry has a strong ability to survive in the wild. There was almost no loss in the nearly 1,000-mile raid. Moreover, Mazaioi broke it up into pieces, divided it into 110-man teams, and scattered them in a large area on the border of the demon realm. A huge amount of information was gathered every day. The stealth performance was brought to the extreme. Sometimes you can even be invisible throughout the whole process, follow the demon realm adventure team, and listen to the news without being discovered. This made many adventure teams in the demon realm feel cold all day long, but they could not detect anything unusual. A large amount of information was gathered together, allowing Sui and others to understand the demon realm more intuitively. In fact, the demon realm is similar to other survivor bases, all striving for survival. However, their xenophobia and the law of survival of the fittest make outsiders feel very mysterious. And the purpose of the Demon King summoning the 4 demon generals this time was really to prepare to attack the Phaeton base. When Kingland brought back the news of the death of the Black Fox, he also let the demon realm know that a Phaeton base in Jinquin City has risen grandly. Not only does it have a large number of weapons, but it also has standard power armor. The most important thing is that the people there don't seem to have to worry about having enough food. The spies also discovered that the Phaeton base has begun to grow food crops on its own. Then, it is enough to prove that it has overcome the problem of pollution. What is the most precious thing in the wasteland world? It's not guns and cannons, nor is it an enhancer, but food. No matter how good the guns and cannons are, someone has to operate them, and people need to have enough food. Therefore, what the Phaeton base grows is food, which is clearly gold. Gold that can make people submit infinitely. The Demon King was very excited. To be honest, although the demon realm is powerful, it also has its own difficulties. The rapid increase in population has increased its strength, but it has also made the problem of survival particularly severe. In the wasteland world, supplies are very scarce and limited. With so many people gathered together, the daily food and drink is a terrifying number. Over the years, every inch of land around the demon realm has been carefully searched several times by the survivors. It is difficult to find any usable supplies. In order to survive, they have to expand the search range. But at the same time, they are also facing greater dangers. The mortality rate remains high. In addition, Menghe City is a city developed by industry and manufacturing. Industrial materials are very rich, but daily necessities are relatively scarce. Therefore, the survival pressure faced by the demon realm is increasing. The purpose of sending people into Jinquin City was to prepare for the expansion and transfer of the demon realm. Who knew that Cheng Yaojing would come out halfway and directly intercept and occupy the Rolling Stone base? The Demon King's plan was aborted. Then he sent Black Fox to implement it, but he suffered heavy losses. The Demon King would not give up the annexation plan, so he sent Black Fox to attack Phaeton. The result was another great defeat, and even his subordinate Black Fox was beheaded. This made the Demon King extremely angry. So this time he summoned 4 demon generals to prepare for a large-scale attack on Phaeton. However, don't look at the demon domain being domineering in Menghe City. But it is also very challenging to attack Phaeton across thousands of miles. The first is logistics. They don't have a big boss like Sui, who can support a war alone. The second is the manpower. If you bring too few, you may not be able to fight. But what if you bring too many? I'm afraid that my hometown will not be safe. Finally, the Demon King decided to lead 2 demon generals to go to war, leaving 2 demon generals to guard their homes. It can be said that this is also a decision made at great risk. But there is no way. The wasteland world is like sailing against a current. If you don't advance, you will retreat. There is no comfortable home to think about. Only by constantly annexing can you become stronger. Therefore, during this period, the demon realm frantically collected supplies to prepare for the army's expedition. However, these eventually fell on the heads of ordinary survivors, who had to risk their lives to take risks. Constantly expand the scope of adventure to seek more gains. Otherwise, after being forcibly requisitioned, you and your family can only wait to starve to death. This is the gap. Not everyone can take out a large amount of supplies at any time like the Phaeton base to supply the army's consumption. The army of the demon realm must be self-sufficient on weekdays. Otherwise, large bases simply cannot support a large number of soldiers. After hearing so many tragic situations in the demon realm, Sui couldn't help but feel complacent. In comparison, isn't Phaeton very good? This war should be fought with a thief. However, soon there was news that slapped his face. The team mobilized by the Demon King this time reached a huge number of 20,000 people. This does not include the number of summoned mutant beasts. I don't know why, many survivors here have evolved summoning abilities. It can be seen from the troops brought by the Black Fox last time. The summoned mutant beasts also account for a large part of the Demon Realm army. I don't know if there is an alternative existence like Mazayahu. However, Su Wei was worrying too much about this. In the Demon Realm, even if there is, no one would summon so many mutant beasts at a time. The key is that they can't afford it. Therefore, other summoners focus on quality and try to summon mutant beasts of higher levels, instead of focusing on quantity like Mazayahu. The lower the level of the mutant beast, the more can be controlled. Brother, what should we do now, after listening to the news from various sources? Yuna couldn't help asking Su Wei 20,000 troops, and they are just preparing to go on an expedition. Then the total force of the Demon Realm should be at least 40,000 or 50,000. And the Phaeton Expeditionary Force now has 6,000 or 7,000 people, which is a big difference in number. Let's keep our troops in place for now. Su Wei couldn't help but reveal a very evil smile on his face. It seems that he thought of something very interesting. Keep our troops in place? Are we waiting here and waiting for you to tire yourself out? Yuna was a little confused. Even if they waited for the enemy to tire themselves out, this place was too close to the Demon Realm, and the enemy's reinforcements would arrive in no time. By then, they would still have to face a battle with the Demon Realm army. Don't worry, they won't go out so soon, Su Wei said with a wicked smile. Everyone in the temporary combat meeting room looked at Su Wei in confusion, wondering what he was up to. Chapter 406, Hunter and Prey. Just when everyone was confused, Su Wei left the camp alone after saying that he would not move. Yes, he was alone and took nothing with him. He even took off the power armor that was customized for him and gave it to his men to look after. Zhang Ling and Yuna were against it. However, Su Wei refused sternly, saying that he had his own way and asked the two women to rest assured. Thinking of Su Wei's usual mystery, and the fact that he was now an 8th level super expert. As long as he was not besieged by several strong men of the same level, there should be no threat. The two women reluctantly agreed and watched Su Wei leave reluctantly. Su Wei, who left the army, was like a fish released into the sea, and disappeared in an instant. Sister Xiaoling, what do you think my brother wants to do? Looking at the direction where Su Wei disappeared, Yuna couldn't help asking Zhang Ling beside her. I don't know, but he must be looking for the bad luck of the Demon Realm. Zhang Ling shook her head and said. Oh, Yuna said oh and then fell silent. The two looked at the direction where Su Wei disappeared, and fell into their own thoughts. The king asked me to patrol the mountains and catch a monk for dinner. Su Wei on this side approached the territory of the Demon Realm leisurely. At this time, he had changed his appearance. The face of a strange man. Disheveled, ragged clothes. He carried a simple handmade gun on his back, a severely worn machete on his waist, and a few worn daggers inserted behind his waist. A typical adventurer's outfit, and a down-and-out adventurer. This is the mainstream dress in the wasteland world. It is rare to dress as brightly as Phaeton. After walking for half a day, the terrain began to open up. Traces of survivors' activities can be seen everywhere. Everywhere is a scene of looting. Not even a mature tree can be seen. Obviously, it was cut down by the survivors. First, it can be used to build houses or serve as fuel. Second, of course, it is to prevent mutant beasts from living. Although the mutant beasts have mutated, their living habits still follow most of their nature. After destroying the natural environment, mutants are unwilling to build nests here. However, this does not mean that mutants will give up this hunting ground. On the contrary, they prefer to come here to hunt. Therefore, the scenes of hunting and being hunted are staged here every day. Just as Su Wei was walking, he felt that a danger was approaching. But he did not hesitate at all, and continued to pretend that he did not notice it at all, and was determined to hurry on his way. Bang! Just when Su Wei was wondering what the other party would do, gunshots rang out, and a modified bullet had shot rapidly at his back, the back of his heart. Damn! Young people have no martial ethics. Su Wei couldn't help but curse in his heart. But his body was not slow, and he turned around and then fell on his back. It looked like he was hit by a bullet and his body was turned around by the strong inertia. In fact, the bullet just brushed his clothes and shot into the ground, and there was no damage at all. But after a long time, there was no movement around. It shows that the other party is very vigilant. 10 minutes later, just when Su Wei was about to fall asleep, A rustling sound finally sounded. According to Suwei's perception and measurement, the other party should be more than 100 meters away from him. Even so, the other party's movement speed was still very slow. Finally, a gunman covered in leaves and unkempt walked up to Suwei. Suwei opened his eyes wide, looking like he was dying with his eyes wide open. "Bah, a foreigner, dare to break into my Wanglang's hunting ground, you deserve to die with your eyes wide open." The gunman was suddenly shocked when he saw Suwei's death, and couldn't help but curse in a low voice. As he said that, Wang Lang began to pick up Suwei's equipment. This phenomenon of black eating black is very common in the demon realm. Therefore, Wang Lang is so cautious. He is afraid that the Oriole will be behind and he will be doing other people's wedding clothes in vain. "Fuck, poor guy, you don't even have a decent gun, you wasted my good bullet." Wang Lang couldn't help cursing when he saw Suwei's equipment. This is how the wasteland world is. Human life is cheaper than grass, and sometimes it is not worth a bullet. After taking away Suwei's equipment, this guy was still not satisfied and wanted to take off his pants. Bang Suwei was so angry that he kicked him 3 meters away in an instant. This was to keep him alive, otherwise he would have kicked him to death. Wow! Although Suwei only used half of his strength, Wang Lang still felt like he was hit by a super heavy truck in Mercedes-Benz, and couldn't help spitting out blood. His whole body was in pain as if it was about to fall apart, and it was difficult to move a finger. In his triangular eyes, there was a strong fear. The other party couldn't even be killed by a gun, and he was directly disabled with one move. What kind of terrifying existence is this? You know, Wang Lang is also a 4-star evolver, and he is a small master in the demon realm. He didn't even have the chance to resist. "Brother, you are too cruel. You took the equipment, but why did you take off your pants, you pervert? Then don't blame me for being rude." Suwei stood up with a wicked smile. "Who are you?" Wang Lang asked weakly. His face was full of fear. Unfortunately, with his broken body now, it is a luxury to survive, let alone escape. "Who I am is not important, what's important is who you are," Suwei asked instead of answering. "Who am I? What do you want to do?" Wang Lang was stunned at first, but soon reacted. It turned out that he was not a hunter from the beginning, but a prey led by the hunter. "Oh, guess," Suwei said, but did not give the other party a chance to guess, and directly took out a bottle of truth serum and poured it into him. Soon, he got the information he wanted. It turns out that the mean-looking, triangular-eyed wretched man in front of him is named Lu Xiaojun, and his nickname is Yellow Wolf. It means to satirize his cunning and wretched personality, but he is not ashamed of it at all, but proud of it. It is the wretched characteristics of Yellow Wolf that are brought to the fullest. The camp where he lives is called Beishi Town, which belongs to Gan Xingren, the second demon general in the demon realm. He is also one of the demon generals preparing to go to the expedition to Phaeton this time. Haha, it takes no effort to find it after searching everywhere. With Lu Xiaojun's behavior, he usually comes alone. He is also an unpopular existence in the camp. Except for a limited number of friends, he rarely interacts with others. This is exactly what Suwei wants, and he doesn't have to worry about being discovered. Chapter 407 Application. After obtaining the information he wanted, Suwei sent Wang Lang to his death. "You dared to attack me and wanted to take off my pants. I'm glad I didn't torture you to death." After recording Wang Lang's facial features with a magic, Suwei immediately transformed into Wang Lang and put on his coat. Done. As for Wang Lang's body, it was naturally put into the space and destroyed when the opportunity arose. Lest it be discovered here. After cleaning up the traces, Suwei got up and quietly walked towards the Beishi camp. The two were of similar height, but Wang Lang was a little skinny and malnourished, while Suwei was more robust. But no matter. Not many people paid attention to him anyway. What about making trouble? Let's run after we do it. Who can catch up with us? Right. According to Wang Lang's description, Suwei soon found the Beishi camp described dozens of kilometers away. Now Suwei knew why it was called Beishi Town. It turned out that this place was rich in a kind of white stone, which was strong and durable. Most of the camps were built with this white stone, so it was named Beishi Town. It was not large, with a population of about 200 or 300 people. Many of them were still using tents, some of which were already in tatters, with dry plant stems and leaves stuffed in the cracks. This reminded Suwei of the original Shimu camp. If it hadn't been for his own vigorous development, it might still be struggling, or it might have been occupied by the demon realm. Seeing Su Wei return safely, passers-by on the street avoided him, as if mice saw a cat. It can be seen how annoying this guy's on weekdays. Su Wei immediately understood and pretended to be fierce and frightened a little girl of 8 or 9 years old to tears. Because her parents once told her that yellow wolves like to eat children the most, if she doesn't obey, they will give her to the yellow wolf. This trick worked every time in Beishi Town. However, this made Su Wei ashamed. He had to return to his residence quickly. In fact, there was nothing much, just a stone house built with white stones. In addition to a bed, there was garbage inside. At least in Su Wei's eyes, they were all things that he disdained. Guns and ammunition, expired food, various clothes, etc. Perhaps they were all obtained by the yellow wolf. I don't know how many people died under his gun. Then today's action can be regarded as justice. Thinking of this, Su Wei couldn't help but feel happy again. After searching, he didn't find anything special, so he sat down to rest for a while. But his attention has never been spared from the Beishi Town outside the window. When the sun sets, people who go out for adventures come back in groups. It's not as safe as the Phaeton base. After nightfall, no one wants to stay outside the camp. Although the Beishi camp is small, there are also garrisons, and the one in charge is a 6-star evolver. All the residents of Beishi Town live under his protection, so every time they come back, half of the income must be handed over and confiscated. But if the amount does not reach the bottom line, then the family will be expelled. Reduced to food for many mutant beasts and zombies in the wilderness. This time, in order to go to the Phaeton, the surrender ratio of Beishi Town was directly increased by 20%. That is to say, 70% of the income must be handed over, otherwise they will be expelled from the camp. For this reason, there was a howling of ghosts and wolves at the entrance of the camp. After 70% was handed over, the rest was not enough to make a living. Are they just going to starve to death? But no one will come to sympathize with them. Living in the demon realm, the law of the jungle is the truth. The weak are always the food devoured by the strong, but it's just a matter of how they are devoured. So the question is, why doesn't Wang Lang need to hand over food? There's only one answer, that is, he is already among the strong in Beishi Town. When the camp is in danger, he has the responsibility to participate in the battle. At the same time, he is also a candidate for conscription. Therefore, he does not need to hand over his income, and he can still get a part of the subsidy on weekdays. It is precisely because of this that most people in the camp are afraid of him and fear him. Of course, Wang Lang can also refuse to go to the battle, but he needs to contribute double the supplies in exchange, and he must also get the consent of the camp guardian. Therefore, the weight of the packing is naturally indispensable. This is why Wang Lang often goes out hunting recently. Unfortunately, after hunting geese all day, he was pecked in the eye by a goose today. When he met Su Wei, he died before he could accomplish his mission. However, the wealth that Wang Lang had accumulated with great effort was just a pile of garbage in Su Wei's eyes. Besides, how could he waste this opportunity to be drafted into the army? He was worried that he would not have the opportunity to get close to the army. Isn't this like a sleepy man bumping into a soft pillow? In this way, Su Wei stayed in Beishi Town for 2 days. He stayed at home every day. Even if those friends came to invite him, Su Wei would refuse for various reasons. No one knew what he was doing in the house. However, this was also in line with Wang Lang's moody personality in the past. At a quick glance, those friends did not notice that Su Wei's figure was a little different. 2 days later, the conscription order arrived in Beishi Town. This time, Wang Lang unexpectedly did not ask the town guard for mercy, and readily agreed. He got on the car and drove to Qixing Palace, the residence of the second demon general. There were 3 other evolvers traveling with him, but their levels were not as high as Wang Lang's, only about 3 stars. Given Wang Lang's usual eccentric personality, the 3 evolvers all sat far away from him and sat at the other end of the vehicle. This was exactly what Su Wei wanted, so he sat alone and closed his eyes to rest. Qixing Palace is located in the center of the demon realm. It is close to the Demon King capital at the center. Its population has reached 20,000 to 30,000, supporting nearly 10,000 armed forces. For this expedition, the selected demon generals naturally could not take out all their assets. At most, only half will be sent out, and the other half will be recruited from the camps in the jurisdiction. This will not only gather enough troops, but also make the hometown more stable. After all, When the demon generals leave, the strength of the town will naturally be greatly reduced. If we don't find ways to reduce the strength in the jurisdiction, some people with ulterior motives may take advantage of the situation. Beishi Town is the most marginal camp. The car that picks up people goes directly there, and then picks up the camps along the way one by one on the way back. The closer to Kixing Palace, the more people there are in the car. The car is almost full. However, considering the 4-star level of the Yellow Wolf, it was still quite scary. The others were basically 2 or 3 stars. Seeing Su Wei resting with his eyes closed without saying a word, no one came forward to disturb him, and consciously kept a certain distance from him. This left a small circle of vacuum around Su Wei. Although it was small, it was also a preferential treatment for the strong. Chapter 408, Dig It Out. The car started and stopped. It arrived at a medium-sized camp called Warhammer. 3 people got on here. The leader was a steely man, a 4-star. The other 2 looked like they were not good people either. The 3 got on the car and looked around, and found that the seats were basically full, and only Su Wei's side had a vacant seat. "Brother, look," a slightly shorter man pointed to where Su Wei was and said. "Huh?" The steely man immediately pushed through the crowd and walked towards Su Wei. The slightly shorter man and another slightly fatter man also followed immediately. The people standing in the aisle made way for a passage. Many people showed a look of watching a good show on their faces. The crowd now basically formed groups from various camps, but Su Wei was alone, standing out from the crowd. "Boy, give me a seat." The steely man walked up to him and asked Su Wei in a rough voice. However, Su Wei was not moved at all, and still looked calm. "Hey, brat, my big brother is talking to you, are you deaf?" Seeing the big man being ignored, the slightly fatter man immediately shouted at Su Wei. "Are you talking to me?" Su Wei frowned slightly and opened his eyes. He looked at the 3 people who squeezed over and asked. "Nonsense, aren't you asking even though you know the answer?" The slightly shorter man shouted immediately. "Humph, I'm not small, and I'm not smelly, why should I care about you?" Su Wei looked at the 3 people with contempt. "Yo-ho, big brother, you're still a thorn." Hearing Su Wei's blunt answer, the slightly shorter man became excited instead. "Humph, what thorn? I think he's just a fool. Do you know what your big brother does?" The slightly fatter man also said in a weird tone. "What for?" The slightly shorter man cooperated with a curious look on his face. "A barber," the slightly fatter man said proudly. "A barber." Not only was the shorter man, who was his companion, confused. Even their eldest brother, the big iron man, had a different expression. "A barber? I'll barber your sister." "Not bad. I've been professionally barbing prickly heads for more than 10 years. I specialize in treating all kinds of discontent," the slightly fatter man said slowly and confidently. "Well said." The shorter man couldn't help but praise him. "This brother is really good at flattering." Sure enough, a smug smile suddenly appeared on the face of the big iron man. This flattery was comfortable. "I specialize in treating all kinds of discontent. Can you treat acclimatization?" Su Wei immediately showed a look of expectation when he heard this. Puff. After a short silence, I don't know who couldn't hold back the laughter first, and immediately caused the whole car to ring with extremely suppressed laughter. "Asshole, I'm Zuba from Warhammer. Who are you? How dare you talk to me like that?" The big iron man was immediately angry, and with a roar, he suppressed the laughter of everyone in the car. Warhammer Zuba. When this name came out, many people's faces changed color. Warhammer is one of the best camps under Kixing Palace, and Zuba is even more famous. It is said that he is a relative of the camp's defender. There are also rumors that Zuba has a relationship with a big man in Kixing Palace. Such a person is not something that ordinary people can mess with. "Who are you calling a bastard?" Su Wei asked unmoved. "You are being called a bastard," Zuba said without hesitation. "Haha, not bad, not bad. You are a teachable kid, isn't it you who is being called a bastard?" Su Wei was amused by this big fool. Wasteland version of brain teasers, let's learn about it. "Brother, he is calling you a bastard," the slightly fat man and the slightly shorter man immediately said in unison. "Nonsense!" The Iron Man Zubar Orton attacked Su Wei with an iron fist. This punch was as powerful as thunder and lightning. It seemed that Su Wei would be directly knocked out of the car with one punch. "Humph, little guy, you want to compete with me in strength?" Cannon hammer. How could Su Wei tolerate him? He also fought back with a punch. Of course, he suppressed his strength to the level of 3.5 stars. Bang! After a collision sound that made people's back teeth numb, the Iron Man disappeared. The two men beside him were stunned and stood there. Everyone took a closer look. Oh my God. It's too scary. There was a big hole in the roof of the car. It is estimated that the Iron Man went out from this hole. Bang! At this moment, a huge figure fell from the sky and embedded directly into the hardened ground next to the car. The position was just outside the window next to Sue. Demon Realm has been operating for so many years, and hardened roads have been built between camps for easy transportation. However, they are not as beautiful as Phaeton's, nor as spacious. At this moment, everyone in the car, including the Evolvers who also came out of Beishi Town, looked at Sue with extremely strange eyes. He knocked down a 4-star Evolver with one punch. How strong is this guy? Only the camp's defender can have this ability, right? Is he also a 6-star Evolver? It's terrifying to think about it. 4 stars is considered a master, and 6 stars is even more amazing. Once reported, it is possible to become a defender of a camp. That treatment, but you can get most of the resources by lying down. You know, resources are the basis for improving strength. Only with resources can you improve your strength faster and stronger. Therefore, being able to become a defender of a camp is what adventurers dream of. Aren't you going to help? Sue shook his head and said to the two men who came with Zuba. He had suppressed it to 3.5 stars, but his dual strength talent was still too strong, and he almost sent the man away. He exposed his strength that shouldn't be exposed all of a sudden. What a headache. We are convinced. We won't even support the wall from now on. We will only support you, the two men hurriedly answered in unison. I'll go, your sister. I'm saying that you won't help that bastard. The car is about to start. Sue was shocked by the two men. What the hell is going on? Yes, help. The two men hurriedly ran out of the car, dug Zuba out of the ground, and then lifted him into the car. However, this time they didn't dare to get close to Sue. They just shrank away at the other end. The driver saw the whole thing, but didn't say a word. When everyone was gathered, he drove on the road. In the demon realm, violent fighting is commonplace. Provocation will not be blamed, but will be regarded as a heroic performance. Of course, being killed in return is another matter. Chapter 409 Kixing Palace. After passing the Warhammer camp, the vehicle stopped and drove straight forward. Before dark, they finally arrived at the Kixing Palace. In the twilight, the Kixing Palace was majestic and tall. Sue opened his eyes and looked at the purely man-made palace curiously. This reminded him of the Longhu base. The style here is very similar to the previous Tyrannosaurus Rex. However, the construction scale of the Kixing Palace is more than 10 times larger than that of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now, Sue knows where the giant trees in the demon realm have gone. It is estimated that they have all been cut down to build palaces. The Kixing Palace is built on the mountain and rises step by step, all the way to the top of the mountain. It occupies a large mountain. The Demon General's bedroom is at the top of the mountain, in the largest building. In fact, that is the real Kixing Palace. The surrounding buildings are just vassals, because it is built on the entire mountain. Therefore, the buildings are arranged in a ring. From the foot of the mountain to the top of the mountain, there are a total of 7 floors. The survivors also live on different floors according to their status. The bottom layer is naturally the lowest status civilians. After the vehicle passed the city gate checkpoint, it drove straight to the 3rd floor. This is where the military camp of Kixing Palace is located. The 3rd and 4th floors are both. Above the 5th floor, it is the so-called noble area. The demon generals live in the Kixing Palace on the 7th floor, high above. After arriving, each person was issued a number plate and sent to temporary residence. Here, everything is random, and the small groups gathered according to the camp are directly disrupted. What a coincidence, Suhu and Zuba were assigned to the same barracks. In fact, Zuba just looks a little miserable, but he didn't suffer much damage. He woke up not long after getting on the car. Although he kept looking at Sue with a pair of hateful eyes, he didn't dare to provoke him again. I thought I would be relieved when I got there. Who knew that I was so unlucky that I had to live under the same roof with this evil star? Can I still live like this? Thinking of this, Zuba hesitated when he got off the car. It was not until Sue went in that he walked towards the barracks reluctantly. In fact, this is not a matter of luck, because Yi and Wang Lang are both 4-star evolvers, so they were naturally assigned together when they were assigned. In the future, they may still be comrades in the same team. So, if nothing unexpected happens, Zuba will stay with Wang Lang forever. Amen. However, when there is no way out, there is always a way out. When Zubar walked into the barracks, his eyes lit up. Because there is a barracks for every 10 people, there are other people in the barracks. It seems that they have arrived a long time ago. Not only have they made their beds, but they also gathered together to play cards. The key is that there is a figure that Zuba is very familiar with. Dong at this moment, Zuba actually felt like seeing a relative. He rushed over and grabbed one of the men. Oh my god, who are you? The man called Dong was caught off guard and directly shook off Zuba's hand, asking with a look of disgust. You dead glass, believe it or not, I will beat you to death. Brother Dong, I'm Zuba of Warhammer. Zuba introduced himself with a smile. Zuba. Warhammer, oh, you are Uncle Zu's nephew Zuba. Brother Dong suddenly had a look of enlightenment. But there was a hint of contempt in his arrogant eyes. He was just a nephew of a housekeeper. Yes, Brother Dong has a good memory. Last time I came to see my uncle, I also visited you specifically. Zuba hurriedly established a friendship. This Brother Dong is not simple. He is the son of Wang Bing, the #1 subordinate of the second demon general Gan Xinren, Wang Dong. In short, he is a second-generation official. The second-generation officials in the wasteland world are extraordinary. They are almost unconstrained and have great power. It can be said that here, except for the demon general Gan Xinren and his father, no one can be taken seriously. Got it, you were also recruited. Wang Dong was disturbed and threw the cards in his hand in a bored manner. Others also stopped. The two who were good at playing cards couldn't help but look regretful. But so what? If Brother Dong doesn't play anymore, who else dares to play? Yes, I didn't expect that I would be assigned to Brother Dong. This is really a great honor. Zuba immediately knelt down and licked his hands. Don't worry, follow me and work hard. You will definitely benefit when the time comes. Wang Dong patted Zuba's shoulder with great satisfaction. This guy is good. Just right for charging into battle. That, Brother Dong, can't you discuss something? At this moment, Zuba suddenly said with difficulty. Go ahead. Although Wang Dong was a little disgusted, he asked reluctantly for the sake of Uncle Zu. That is, can you change beds with that brother? I don't like to stay with that person, Zuba said and pointed to Su Wei who was making up the bed. It turned out that the remaining 2 beds in the barracks were connected. Su Wei chose a card against the wall. A newcomer. Wang Dong and the others only then noticed Su Wei's presence. They were playing cards very enthusiastically just now, and Su Wei was silent, so naturally he did not attract their attention. Do you know each other? Wang Dong asked Zuba curiously. No, Zuba shook his head immediately. Who would know that evil star? So there is a feud, Wang Dong asked even more curiously. Brother Dong, I won't hide it from you. Zuba was not afraid of embarrassment, and quickly recounted the incident of being knocked down by Su Wei. Of course, the reason was no longer because he wanted to occupy someone else's seat, but just asking Su Wei to make some space, which caused a conflict. While talking, Zuba was also observing Wang Dong's expression. When he found that he had successfully aroused Wang Dong's interest, a smug look appeared in Zuba's eyes. As long as Wang Dong took action, his crazy blackening of his own operation would not be in vain. Let's go, let's meet him. Sure enough, after listening to Zuba's story, Wang Bing became very interested in the taciturn Su Wei. Someone who can knock down a 4-star evolver with one move must be at least 5-star. And he happens to be a 5-star evolver. As he said that, Wang Dong took the lead and walked towards Su Wei. Others followed. They were all descendants of Wang's vassals, so they naturally followed Wang Dong's lead. A group of shirtless men immediately surrounded Su Wei. On the contrary, Zubar was squeezed to the back, looking at Su Wei with a gloating look on his face. Let's see how he can deal with it. Hard fight? How can a little scoundrel from a remote camp beat Wang Dong, the second generation of an official? The end must be terrible. Submission? Then they will all be Wang Dong's subordinates from now on. With his relationship with Wang Dong, he can still suppress Su Wei. It's the best of both worlds. Chapter 410 Fight. In fact, compared to Wang Dong, Zuba hoped that Su Wei could confront Wang Dong head-on. Because in this way, Su Wei's end would be very miserable. This would also reduce the hatred in his heart. You are the yellow wolf from Beishi Town, Wang Dong asked Su Wei curiously with his hands folded in front of his chest. What can I do for you? Su Wei asked while tidying up the bed. Arriving at Kixing Palace, Su Wei was not in a hurry. He planned to see what the situation was before making a plan. Boy, Brother Dong, I'm talking to you again, you better be serious. A young man was immediately unhappy when he saw Su Wei's indifferent look. He kicked Su Wei's bed. But before his foot could kick the bed, Su Wei's foot kicked directly on the other's ankle. With a click, the other's foot bent into a strange angle. Brother Dong, the injured young man immediately fell to the ground, holding his injured foot, rolling on the ground in pain. Shut up, don't embarrass me here. Wang Dong's face turned cold, but he did not target Su Wei directly, but kicked the young man in the mouth. Blood immediately flowed. However, the scream stopped abruptly. He is so cruel to his own people, he is really a talent. You too, send him for treatment. The young man had fainted at this time, which shows how strong Wang Dong is. Yes, Brother Dong. Immediately, two people stood up, lifted the young man and ran out. This scene made Zuba Behind excited. But he couldn't help but admire Su Wei in his heart. He dared to beat Wang Dong's men. Didn't he want to stay in Kixing Palace? Zuba really guessed this. Su Wei didn't come to Kixing Palace at all. Yellow Wolf, right, I admire your courage, but, in front of me, you hit my people, you can't eat today, you have to take the consequences, Wang Dong said, and a strong momentum burst out of his body. He turned out to be a 5-star evolver. It is rare for him to reach this level at his age. In the wasteland, it is definitely a good thing to be able to take the consequences. Then I have to thank you very much. Thank you for your ancestors. At this time, Su Wei finally made the bed. Turning around, he looked at Wang Dong and said, "Fuck." Wang Dong was immediately furious. He swung a punch at Su Wei, and faintly, the skin on his arm exuded a metallic color. Steel skin. The skin of the whole body is made of steel, with amazing defensive capabilities. It is a close combat weapon. Su Wei naturally saw the changes in the opponent's skin. So, the death grip on his hand was also activated, and both fists were instantly covered with the black metal. Cannonheimer. Su Wei was not polite and punched it directly. Bang! Wang Dong was directly hit by the powerful force and retreated repeatedly, directly bumping into the younger brothers who were watching and Zuba, who was hiding behind to watch the show. Fortunately, Wang Dong was strong enough to stop his retreat. The hardened floor left a series of deep footprints. Hiss. Including Zuba. Everyone couldn't help but gasp. This guy is really strong. He actually defeated Wang Dong with one move. Moreover, Su Wei looked calm, as if he didn't use much strength. Good guy. Wang Dong became more excited and rushed over again with a roar. This time, he used all his strength. His whole body turned into the color of metal, including his hair. Under the light, he looked like a shining little golden man. Even his feet made a series of metal collision sounds when he stepped on the ground. Fuck, he can actually turn his whole body into metal. Is his girlfriend okay? Su Wei couldn't help but think with such a bad taste. Seeing Wang Dong's punch coming, Su Wei raised his hand to swat it away, then rushed forward and crashed into Wang Dong's chest. Iron Mountain. Bang! There was a head-numbing crashing sound. Wang Dong's figure was faster than when he came. He directly knocked a big hole in the back wall of the barracks, and then disappeared. Crash! A sound of knocking over countless things came from the back of the barracks. Zuba's face hurt when he heard it. Last time, he suffered such treatment. However, from the sound, Wang Dong seemed to be more miserable than himself. Brother Dong. After a short silence, Wang Dong's brothers immediately rushed over, without even time to go through the door, and directly crashed through the back wall and chased after him. Gudong. When Zuba wanted to run, he was stared at by Su Wei. The sharp eyes made him swallow a big mouthful of saliva nervously. You are the one making trouble again. Su Wei pinched his fingers and walked slowly towards Zuba. No, it's not me, Zuba immediately denied firmly. Really? Why don't I believe it? Su Wei smiled evilly and did not stop. Really? I just want to exchange beds with them. Zuba was about to cry. But he felt like he was locked in, and no matter how he struggled, it was useless. Since you don't want to sleep here, then sleep outside. Su Wei kicked Zuba out with a flying kick. He also flew out from the back wall. Not bad, a family should be neat and tidy. After doing all this, Su Wei clapped his hands, admiring his masterpiece, and couldn't help talking to himself. It's a pity that this wall has endured the pain that it shouldn't have endured at its age. It seems to be crumbling. Toot toot toot. Soon, a quick whistle sounded in the camp. Then a team of fully armed soldiers rushed in and surrounded Sue. What happened here? The leader was a short-haired man in his 30s. His dark skin showed that he had been bathing in the sun for many years, and his weathered face showed his rich past. However, a scar from the corner of his left eye to his forehead made him look a little more ferocious. He looked a little fierce overall. "Nothing, sir," Sue replied nonchalantly. "Huh?" The man was stunned when he heard it, and couldn't help but look at Sue a few more times. Unfortunately, it was not a face he knew. It was so rare to see such a big man. Crash. At this time, the back wall once again suffered the pain it shouldn't have suffered. A group of people came back from the hole in the wall with dusty faces. Oh my God. A team of soldiers, including the leading man, were stunned. What's going on? One person against a group? Wait, that's Wang Dong. The leading man couldn't help but shrink his eyes. After confirming that he was not mistaken, he could not help but feel inexplicably shocked. Who on earth is this person who dares to confront Wang Dong here? Chapter 411. The Devil's Smile. What happened here? The leading man coughed, attracting everyone's attention, and then asked Wang Dong. Nothing, Commander Yu, the weather is too hot, let's open the window in the house to let some air in. Wang Dong had already recovered his original form, and said to the leading man with a smile on his face. But those who knew him knew that when Wang Dong showed such an expression, he was extremely angry. However, he did not complain to the patrol army. Instead, he acted as if nothing had happened. He must have had a more vicious idea. Remember, private fighting is prohibited in the military camp. It's so late, go to bed quickly. Okay, Commander Yu. The leading commander Yu did not ask any more questions, and after explaining a few words, he led his men away. As for what would happen in the future, it was none of his business. Sleep, sleep. Wang Dong patted the dust off his body, looked at Sue meaningfully, and fell on his bed. The others followed suit, looked at Sue fiercely, and went to bed one after another. Zuba, whose face was swollen like a pig's head, was in a bad state. Because the remaining bed was still the one next to Sue. Now he was in a dilemma. However, he dared not disobey Wang Dong's order, so he had to walk to the bed and lie down. At this point, Sue was the only one standing in the messy barracks. Sue also looked at Zuba meaningfully, and then lay down on the bed and went to sleep. Who are you trying to scare? How could an 8th level evolver be afraid of a few 4 and 5-star minions? Besides, the artificial intelligence is watching 24 hours a day. As long as there is any movement, the artificial intelligence will wake Sue up at the first time. So Sue fell asleep quickly. After a while, snoring sounded in the barracks. Only Zuba couldn't fall asleep for a long time. My God. That guy's eyes are too weird and scary. What if he attacks me in the middle of the night? In this way, Zuba was entangled all night until dawn. But nothing happened. The two thick dark circles under his eyes told of the pain and suffering of last night. This made Zuba unable to help but curse Wang Lang's ancestors in his heart. Unfortunately, this Wang Lang is not Wang Lang. No matter how vicious Zuba cursed, it had no effect on Sue. It's just a pity for Wang Lang, who is dead, but still has to bear so many insults. It's really not easy to die. Good morning. However, just when Zuba was about to take a nap, Sue's devilish smile appeared in front of him again. Sue had changed into the military uniform of the demon realm, and stood in front of the bed refreshed, bending over to look at him. Damn it! Zuba rolled to the side reflexively. But he forgot that he was lying on the bed in the barracks, and fell off the bed with a crash, and because of too much force, he went directly under the bed next door. This became the biggest shame in Zuba's life. HMPH, how dare you to play tricks on me? I can't scare you to death. Seeing Zuba crawling under the bed, Sue left contentedly. The call to assemble had already been sounded, and everyone had to gather in the playground. Wang Dong and the others naturally saw what was happening here, but pretended not to see it and put on their clothes. Dong brother Dong. Zuba finally crawled out from under the bed, and came to Wang Dong with a wronged look on his face. If this continued, he would be killed by Sue. HMPH. Waste, don't worry, he won't see the moon tonight. Wang Dong glared at Zuba with contempt. Then he said to himself. Really? Zuba immediately became energetic when he heard it. As long as Sue died, his nightmare would end. Get lost, don't block the way. Wang Dong had already changed his clothes and was ready to leave. Yes, Zubai quickly stepped aside and watched Wang Dong leave. The others naturally followed, leaving Zubai alone in the barracks. Humph, Yellow Wolf, I'll take a good look at how you die. Zubai stamped his feet in anger. Then he hurriedly changed his clothes and walked towards the playground. Sui arrived at the playground first. A large group of people stood there in a black mass. There were at least thousands of people. However, most of them were enhancers, and their levels were uneven. The highest ones were 7 or 8 levels of enhancement, and the lowest ones were even 2 or 3 levels. Evolvers were rare, and awakeners were even rarer. Moreover, most of the evolvers were 1 or 2 stars. Those above 3 stars were considered the elite among the elite. After all the people arrived, the instructor separated everyone according to their levels. Then they were mixed. Usually each team has a certain number of 1 or 2 star evolvers. As for the evolvers of 3 stars and above, they were held together, about 100 people. It seems that they want the entire elite team. Sui was naturally among them. However, when he saw Wang Dong's confident smile, he secretly became alert. I don't know what tricks this guy is going to play. However, the whole morning was spent in the new training and distribution. Nothing happened. While Sui was wondering, Zubai was also muttering. The lunch here is also divided into different levels. You eat what kind of food according to your level. Anyway, the hierarchy is fully reflected here. As a 4-star Yellow Wolf, it is already the top existence in the army. The food includes vegetables and meat. But looking at the quality, it is just wild vegetables and small mutant beast meat. Except for containing a certain amount of energy, there is nothing else. It tastes like rubber. How can Sui eat such a thing? He just threw it into the space when others were not paying attention. Eating the food brought by himself is much better than these. After lunch, others began regular training. This is to adjust the unfamiliarity between each other. At least in the next war, they need to support each other, so most people train very seriously. It is in full swing and in good shape. As for Sui and others, they were picked up by several cars. Go straight to the 4th floor. Here, a new instructor took over. They were organized into a brigade. The captain was naturally the strongest Wang Dong. After he came on stage, he didn't rush to take the stage to give a speech, but first looked at the corner where Sui was. Seeing Wang Dong's smiling eyes, Sui immediately understood. This guy didn't continue to make trouble last night. It turns out that he wanted to make things difficult for me here. If I really want to make achievements, I will be controlled by you. Unfortunately, I am here to cause trouble, so you should wear the shoes yourself. Sui also gave him a mysterious smile in return. The next life will not be so boring. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412 Series. After the team was formed, the training began. It was mainly aimed at mutual cooperation. Because they were a ragtag army and were used to fighting on their own, what bothered the instructors was not their combat power, but their personal temper. This was actually like the process of putting a bridle on a wild horse. When filing in the specialty, Sui wrote sniper expertise, so he was assigned to the position of sniper. He was also equipped with a modified sniper. Although it was not as good as the product eliminated by Phaeton, it was still a medium to high quality weapon in the demon realm. It was just that there were fewer bullets. Each sniper was only equipped with 30 practice bullets. Stingy. For Sui, this was not enough for him to shoot birds. Sui's shooting skills were naturally needless to say. After only 3 shots, the instructors were collectively impressed and asked him to go to the side to rest and wait for the next arrangement. It happened that Sui looked at the surrounding environment unscrupulously. The training ground was directly opened up on the mountainside. On one side is a cliff, and on the other side is a straight high wall. Above is the so-called noble area. The densely packed defensive weapons on the high wall make people's scalps numb. Here, each layer is a circular fortification. The higher you go, the smaller the area, but the stronger the defense. Sui roughly estimated that even if the current Phaeton expeditionary force wants to capture the Kixing Palace, it will have to invest at least 6,000 or 7,000 troops, plus long-range firepower support. It can be said to be impregnable. However, no matter how strong a fortress is, it is easy to break from the inside. With someone like Sui, it seems that there is no base that he can't destroy. Who asked you to go to my Phaeton base to cause trouble again and again? Do it to them in their own way. Let's let you taste this kind of never-ending taste. Sui couldn't help thinking as he looked at it. So where to start? Most of the buildings in Kixing Palace are wooden structures. Once they burn, it will probably be a disaster. But Sui thought it wouldn't be that simple. They dared to use so much wood to build on a large scale, so they should have considered ways to deal with fire. Therefore, the feasibility of this method needs to be investigated. It was afternoon when they wandered around like this. Yellow Wolf. Just then, a familiar voice sounded. Wang Dong came over with Zuba and a few lackeys. After putting on military uniforms, they looked a little bit like them. But Zuba, who looked tired and had panda eyes, was particularly conspicuous. Sui couldn't help but show him a devilish smile again. The latter suddenly felt a chill on his back, unconsciously slowed down by half a step and fell behind. Wang Dong didn't notice it at all. "What are you doing?" Sui stood up and asked Wang Dong, who was approaching. "I see you are so free, go help get food, it can be regarded as a service to our group," Wang Dong said to Sui with a fake smile. Sui turned his head and glanced at the instructor not far away. They obviously noticed what was happening here, but because of Wang Dong's face, they pretended not to hear it. Okay, when Sui turned around, he agreed directly. Wang Dong and others couldn't help but be stunned. He originally thought that Sui would refuse. And then he could use his position as captain to bully others. He never expected that Sui would agree so straightforwardly. He didn't even have the slightest intention of refusing. "What's wrong? Any problem?" Looking at Wang Dong, who fell into silence, Sui asked with a smile. "Humph. You know what's good for you, Liang Jin, Zuba, you two take him there, don't get lost," Wang Dong said, a little unsatisfied. Sui's obedience made him feel like punching a cotton ball, soft and without any place to put force, and he felt very aggrieved. "Yes, Captain," the man named Liang Jin and Zuba quickly agreed. "Wang Lang, let's go." As they said that, the two walked forward, really looking like they were leading the way. Sui put his gun on his back and followed the two. "Brother Dong, this guy is so honest all of a sudden, I'm afraid he is cheating." Seeing Sui leave, a lackey couldn't help but say to Wang Dong. "Humph, I'm waiting for him to be dishonest, his every move can't escape Liang Jin's eyes," Wang Dong said with a smile. Brother Dong is smart. When everyone heard that it was Wang Dong's strategy of playing hard to get, they immediately felt much better. They were in a mood to wait and see a good show. Soon, the distributed food was taken back. Apart from the logistics staff, Sui was the only official team member who was there to help with chores. He also wore a white apron on purpose, looking very decent. It immediately attracted everyone's attention. However, the fact that Sui offended Wang Dong had been widely spread early on. This result, on the contrary, makes people feel normal. When you are under someone's roof, who doesn't bow your head? "Yo, Wang Lang, you are quite professional. Come on, get the food too. I haven't eaten the food that a 4-star evolver got." One of Wang Dong's lackeys immediately took the lead in making a noise. As the captain, Wang Dong just watched. Okay, just when everyone was waiting for Sui to get angry, Suhu agreed with a smile on his face. "Humph, I've seen people acting like this, but I've never seen someone who is so deadly." Sui thought coldly in his heart. Everyone was stunned. Is this the person who dared to confront Wang Dong last night? This rumor might be wrong. Seeing the contemptuous eyes of the crowd, Wang Dong's smile became more abundant. Right. This is how he should lose all his face. However, he didn't know that Sui's face at the moment was not his own. Whether it was embarrassing or not, what did it have to do with him? Sui's movements were very fast, and could even be described as skillful. There was no way the takeaway boy was so versatile and so powerful. Soon, everyone had the delicious meal. After exchanging a glance with Liang Jin and confirming that there was nothing wrong, Wang Dong and the others began to eat. Sui gave in so quickly. Wang Dong couldn't help but feel a bit bored. Then the next arrangement would be a bit boring. After all, one-sided bullying would not bring the double happiness of resistance. Brother Dong, oh my god. While eating, a lackey suddenly looked up at Wang Dong, but was directly startled. He didn't even sit firmly and fell out, and the bowl in his hand fell to the ground. "What's wrong?" Wang Dong asked curiously. "Are you serious about looking at me like you've seen a ghost?" Everyone also looked at the lackey who fell to the ground curiously. No, Brother Dong. Brother Dong, look Brother Dong." The lackey was so scared that he was incoherent. He pointed at Wang Dong again and again. Everyone turned their heads to look suspiciously. Oh my God. Chapter 413, Dark Sky. Wang Dong, who was originally fair and handsome, has now become like a charcoal head. What's more outrageous is that this black is not pure. There are red, purple and green in the black. Oh my God. Is he poisoned? It's so strange. How terrible must this poison be? Fuck, did you see a ghost? Wang Dong was instantly angry. Why? Everyone looked at him as if they had seen a ghost. He was so scared that he even dropped the bowl in his hand. Dong Brother Dong, your hands. Liang Jin couldn't help but hurriedly reminded him. But he was also scared and became a little incoherent. Wang Dong is Gan Xinren's most valued godson. If anything goes wrong, they can't escape the blame. Hand? Wang Dong looked at his hand in surprise. After a closer look, he found that the skin exposed between the gloves and sleeves had turned into a strange black color. Fuck, he was so scared that he quickly dropped the bowl and pulled off his gloves in a few seconds. Sure enough, both hands turned black. Then, he tore open his clothes. His heart was instantly filled with despair. His entire body turned a strange black. At this time, it was unknown which lackey contributed a mirror. Wang Dong's desperate heart became even more desperate. The self in the mirror really looked like a ghost. Brother Dong, are you okay? A lackey asked cautiously. It must be so black, how poisonous. But why doesn't it seem to have any signs of leaving? Nima, Wang Dong kicked him away. I turned into this ghost, how can I say I'm okay? The abnormality here has long attracted everyone's attention. Seeing Wang Dong turn into this ghost, everyone was also shocked. I couldn't help but check my own condition in a hurry. Fortunately, there was nothing abnormal. From this point of view, it was a bit funny. But no one dared to laugh out loud. Even if they were injured, they had to hold it in. Who knows if they would be affected? However, at this moment, a hearty laugh came out. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound. Who else could it be but the Yellow Wolf? Yellow Wolf, Wang Dong suddenly realized that it must be this guy who did it. As he said that, he rushed forward. Bang, bang, bang. Instantly, the two of them started fighting. Wang Dong opened fire immediately, but unfortunately his proud golden body was completely covered with black, looking like a pile of black charcoal, which was very funny. Wang Dong, you are sick, Su Wei shouted while beating him. You poisoned him, right? Wang Dong was already blinded by anger. His reputation was ruined just like that. Tui, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. What does this have to do with me? Su Wei would never admit it even if he was beaten to death. You beat all these meals, how dare you say it wasn't you? Wang Dong was going crazy. Thinking of the appearance in the mirror made him crazy. What a joke, I made all the food for everyone here, why are they fine? Besides, didn't your people keep watching me? What evidence do you have that I did it? Su Wei shouted unyieldingly. You? Wang Dong couldn't help but pause. He had indeed confirmed his gaze with Liang Jin. You are eating this bowl, right? Taking advantage of Wang Dong's moment of distraction, Su Wei leaped to Wang Dong's bowl and picked it up. There was still about half of the food left. At this time, Su Wei did something that shocked everyone. He actually ate 2 bites directly. Now I'm eating it too. If it turns black too, you can kill me or chop me up, it's up to you. If it doesn't turn black, humph, please take back what you said just now, Captain, Su Wei said and put the bowl of food back. This move immediately caused an uproar. Now, even Wang Dong had no reason to attack him. The whole place was silent. Time passed by minute. However, except for Wang Dong's darker face, Su Wei remained the same. Wang Dong, what else do you have to say now? Su Wei was not willing to give in. He pointed at Wang Dong's nose and cursed loudly. You? Wang Dong felt like he was about to vomit blood. He knew clearly that it was this guy in front of him who did it, but he had no evidence. Moreover, Su Wei had already proven his innocence. If he insisted on holding him responsible, then his reputation as the captain would be ruined. Who would trust a captain who casually dealt with his subordinates? Wang Dong's face became darker as he hesitated. Someone come, seal up all the food in the venue and ask someone to come and check it. In the end, Wang Dong forced himself to calm down. Su Wei was fine now, but that didn't mean he would be fine in the future. And he believed that the evidence of the crime should not have been destroyed. The food with toxins must be in one of the bowls. It was just swapped by Su Wei. Su Wei just gave a mysterious smile to Wang Dong's way of dealing with him. He guessed right. The food that was poison was indeed still there. But it was not at the scene, but in Su Wei's storage space. What he ate just now was not Wang Dong's food, but half a bowl of food he had placed in the space in advance. Everything was normal. In full view of the public, he swaggered and used the opportunity to prove his innocence to destroy the evidence. Let me ask, who else? Facing Su Wei's confidence, Wang Dong's confidence could not help but decrease a little. But now it is difficult to get off the tiger, and there is no turning back. Soon, several lackeys collected all the food and sent people to the medical department to find a professional poison tester. The result is self-evident. The poison testers naturally found nothing. Similarly, no suspicious toxins were found on Wang Dong. As for why the skin turned black, no one can explain this. One can only suspect whether Wang Dong has been exposed to any special substances. However, such an investigation is also a beginning but no end. Qin Lao's means of preparing medicines are very good. Without knowing the ingredient list, no one can analyze the ingredients. It's because the characteristics of mutated medicinal materials are very difficult to figure out, and the many non-mutated medicinal materials that Su Wei brought from modern times are almost extinct in the wasteland. Therefore, the poison testers here are helpless about Wang Dong's situation. This matter caused a lot of uproar. In the end, it directly alarmed the upper level. But after hearing the ins and outs of the matter, no one can jump to conclusions about such a bizarre incident. After all, this is an extraordinary period, and it is under the watchful eyes of the public. No one wants to cause instability in people's hearts. At least Wang Dong doesn't seem to be in any trouble at the moment. So, this matter can only be put aside for the time being. For safety reasons, Wang Dong was sent directly to the medical department for isolated observation. In order to avoid the onset of toxicity and too late to rescue. However, those doctors knew it in their hearts. Faced with this unknown toxin, even if they wanted to rescue him, they had no way to start. Chapter 414, Phantom Thief. Wang Dong was taken away. The matter was temporarily over. However, everyone knew that if anything happened to Wang Dong, none of them could escape. So, they all looked worried. Only Su Wei didn't care at all. He even regretted why he only used the black skin potion with added ingredients. If he had another bottle of gender-changing potion, Wang Dong would definitely become the #1 demon king in the wasteland. Ouch! Oh my! It's so painful to think about it. Su Wei was completely quiet now. Wang Dong was gone, and his lackeys didn't dare to come forward to harass him. They just followed Wang Dong's instructions before he left and stared at Su Wei's every move. Others avoided Su Wei even more. They were afraid of being implicated by him. Although he was temporarily safe now, everyone knew that he was not much different from a dead person now. Wang Dong would definitely find a chance to kill him. Su Wei naturally didn't care about this. He continued his investigation. After a few days, he really tried to find out some ways. The wood in Qixing Palace has been specially treated to prevent corrosion, mildew, fire and insects. It seems that they have found a reliable agent. After soaking, the wood can have the above characteristics while keeping its essence unchanged. It has become an excellent building material. This material makes Su Wei excited. You know, Daxia has a special liking for wooden structures. But wood has many advantages but also many disadvantages. If you can get this agent to change the quality of the wood, would that be another unique skill? At that time, building a large wooden villa for the old man and others would definitely be a face-saving thing. Su Wei started to crooked before the things were in hand. However, what he wanted, naturally, could not escape. Taking advantage of the few days that Wang Dong had to be isolated, it was just right to start. Because he knew that the effect of the black skin agent would only last for 3 to 5 days. As for Zubai and those lackeys, just ignore them. When you go to bed at night, open a bottle of Sleepy Bug and you can get everything done. After everyone fell asleep, Su Wei quietly slipped out. He changed his face and walked around. The technological conditions of Qixing Palace were not high, and there was little surveillance. This was even more like a fish in water for Su Wei. Not long after, he found their craftsman camp. This is a dilapidated camp on the second floor. There are a large number of carpenters here. In addition to building palaces, they are also responsible for processing some weapon parts, such as butts. Hard work pays off. Sue found the material of metamorphic wood in a processing workshop. It was a light green thick liquid. Soak the wood directly in it, take it out and dry it with fire after a certain period of time, and you can get metamorphic wood. However, the premise is to process the wood into shape first, and then metamorphose it. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to process the metamorphic wood. Sue even found parts such as gears processed with metamorphic wood. It can be seen that Kixing Palace has developed the use of wood to the extreme. And the source of all this is that mysterious light green viscous liquid. Since he encountered it, Sue was naturally unceremonious and took a few bottles to take away. He believed that with Qin Lao's ability, he should be able to analyze the mystery. Afterwards, Sue went to another floor and visited the entire slum. The survivors living here are all similar. It's just that the conditions are better than those in Beishi town. Most of them are engaged in the processing industry, providing various handmade products needed for Kixing Palace. When Sue walked around, the sky was getting brighter. He quickly returned to the barracks and opened the antidote for the sleepy bug. Otherwise, I don't know when those fools will sleep. In this way, training during the day and spying at night, Sue lived a very fulfilling life. He stole a lot of intelligence and rare things. The food and supplies that the nobles regarded as treasures were worthless in Sue's eyes. Instead, some strange and weird items could attract his attention. Whether you will recognize them or not, put them away first. It is precisely because of this. Although some people found that the items were lost, they did not attract much attention. As long as the precious supplies are not lost, everything else is nothing. Over time, this matter became a topic of conversation for everyone during tea breaks after dinner. Moreover, Sue was given a resounding nickname, Phantom Thief X. Phantom Thief is used to describe his strange hobby of stealing things, and he would steal things that no one wants. X represents mystery and unknown. In the end, the rumors became more and more bizarre. There were even fictional unbeautified elements. When these things reached Sue's ears, he himself felt a little incredible. The power of rumors is simply too terrifying. Even he himself suspected that he had split personality and did something that he didn't even know about. But who cares? The more outrageous the rumors, the better. It's safer for Sue, isn't it? But this also made Kixing Palace alert, and they kept sending out experts to track him. An uncontrollable factor appeared on their own territory, and the rulers had a headache. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful the tracking experts they sent, they couldn't lock Sue. After all, he was an 8th level awakener, and unless the Demon King came in person, they would only have to eat shit. That night, Sue came to the 6th floor to wander around. Unexpectedly, the medical department of Kixing Palace was located here. Maybe it's to better serve the demon generals and nobles. After all, here, you can take care of both the 5th and 7th floors, right? Since you're here, why not go in and take a look? It's a good opportunity to visit Wang Dong. I haven't seen him for a few days, and I miss him a little bit. Without him, no one can be his opponent. Masters are lonely. The medical department was deserted at night. Except for the core area where the lights were still on, it was basically shrouded in darkness, which looked a bit eerie and scary. Accidentally, Sue discovered their medicine warehouse, which was so shabby. Seeing this, Sue shook his head. However, mosquito thighs are also meat, so they took them all away without hesitation. Especially some weird mutant medicinal materials. I believe that these things will be very popular with Mr. Qin. Maybe he can make a few new medicines. It's really exciting. After visiting the medicine warehouse and the medicine warehouse, Sue began to search aimlessly again. What? You said guard? Sorry, I'm the sleepyhead of the wasteland. No one can stop it. Let Sue enter the empty space. How is danger? When Sue passed by a small garden, a low voice attracted his attention. So he quietly approached and found the traces of the guards. In order to avoid alerting the enemy, he activated the stealth module on his body and his figure disappeared into the air. Chapter 415 Wasteland Gossip. Danger is fine, except for the accumulation of a large amount of various pigments in the skin. There is no harm to the body, it's just Alice. A charming and soft voice sounded, giving people a refreshing feeling. Sue couldn't help but speed up his movements. Could it be Wang Dong's parents? Just what? The deep male voice continued to ask. It's just that Danger is a very strong person. If the pigments in the skin cannot be removed, he may be ashamed to see people in his life. The female voice was helpless and worried. Oh, Sumei, don't worry. I will definitely give you and your son an explanation for this matter. The deep male voice was sharp. Yet, the female voice responded softly. At this time, Su Wei finally avoided the guards in the dark and came to the inside of the small garden. There was a man and a woman standing in the garden. The woman was about 40 years old, with long hair draped over her shoulders, wearing a beige windbreaker, with a pretty face and clever facial features. She deserves the 4 words charm still exists. From the previous conversation, it is not difficult to guess that the woman is Wang Dong's mother, Li Sumei. As for the man, he is about 50 years old, tall and strong, and has a strong and majestic look. It's just that his gray hair makes him look a little old. However, a square face adds a bit of mature and handsome charm. When he saw the man's appearance clearly, Su Wei couldn't help but be secretly surprised. It's because this man is none other than the person in power in Qixing Palace. That is Gan Xinren, who is known as the second demon general in the demon realm. His posters and photos can be seen everywhere in Qixing Palace. In the military camp, there are photos of him wearing a martial suit, hanging on the wall for people to admire. Of course, what surprised Su Wei was not that he could meet the second demon general in the demon realm here, but because at this moment, the two of them hugged each other, as intimate as a pair of young lovers. Gan Xinren and Li Sumei are having an affair? So whose child is Wang Dong? According to Gan Xinren's sharp voice just now, perhaps it explains something. Oh my! How come a super invincible gossip was dug out? Su Wei turned on the automatic recording function of the magic without hesitation. Then he moved carefully. He gave the two of them a full-scale, multi-angle, high-definition full-time shooting. As the temperature gradually increased, the actions of the two gradually became unbearable to watch, and it could even be said that they were a bit spicy. Su Wei felt a little embarrassed. He shouted in his heart that you guys really know how to play. But at the same time, many questions also arose. Logically speaking, Gan Xinren, as one of the 4 demon generals in the demon realm, is second only to one person in above 10,000 people. What kind of woman does he want? But why does he still cheat? Is it true that a wife is not as good as a concubine, and a concubine is not as good as a secret lover? If so, then this Gan Xinren is really perverted. Click. At this moment, Su Wei accidentally stepped on a dry branch, which made a harsh sound in the quiet night. Gan Xinren was indeed a 7th-level awakener. Even though he was immersed in the fascination, he did not relax his vigilance. He instantly locked onto the place where the sound came from and flew over. Several guards also flew out from the darkness and cooperated with Gan Xinren to surround the place tacitly. But they surrounded it in vain and did not even find a ghost. Gan Xinren was confident that he had heard it correctly. Why was there nothing? He walked back and forth many times where Su Wei was, but there was nothing. Xinren, what's wrong? At this time, Li Sumei, who still had peach blossoms on her face, came over. She was just an ordinary person, so she was not sensitive to the slight sound. Oh, nothing, it's just a little mouse. The solemnity on Gan Xinren's face disappeared, replaced by a smile, showing the stability and confidence of a mature old man. Oh, Li Sumei nodded when she heard it. Knowing that Gan Xinren did not tell the truth, she still chose to believe it. It's late, go back and rest. I'll come to see you and Danger when I'm free. Gan Xinren looked up at the moon in the sky and counted like this. Yet, Li Sumei nodded obediently, then looked at Gan Xinren deeply, then turned and walked towards the ward in the distance. Gan Xinren looked at Li Sumei who was gradually going away. His face became fierce again, raised his head slightly, and a guard wrapped in black cloth followed and escorted Li Sumei away. Let's go. With that, Gan Xinren took the lead and left the second elementary school garden. The tranquility of the past was instantly restored here. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours later. The air here seemed to move a little, but it seemed not to move. Huh? That was a close call. Old man Gan is really alert. Even in that situation, he was able to break in time. I admire you. I admire you. I just don't know if his prostate can take it. A murmur suddenly came from the air. If someone passed by at this moment, they would be scared to death. Along with the murmur, a black figure appeared out of thin air in the small garden. Who else could it be but Su Wei? He didn't want to expose himself just now, so he teleported back to the modern world in an instant. In the small house, he drank a bottle of beer, browsed his phone for a while, and then teleported back again. Sure enough, the place was empty. Gan Xinren, Li Sumei, Wang Bing, Wang Donghe. After Su Wei secretly sorted out the order, he also left the small garden. As for Wang Dong, he no longer had any interest in visiting him. In comparison, he was more interested in his father Wang Bing, who owned the entire Hulanbuer grassland. Coincidentally, his father was also called Wang Bing. The thug in Qingxi town who threatened him with his sister was also called Wang Bing, but now he has been digested by the zombie. I just don't know what will happen to this Wang Bing in the wasteland. It's really exciting. Because it was too late, Su Wei did not continue his journey as a thief. Instead, he returned to the barracks to sleep. The next day, just after dawn, Qixing Palace was in an uproar. The reason was that the pharmacy and medicine warehouses of the medical department were both stolen last night. Although most of them were only level 4 or 5 enhanced potions, this was related to the reputation of Qixing Palace. Naturally, it caused an uproar. Even the demon general Gan Xinren attached great importance to this matter. He personally issued a wanted order for the thieves and made a promise. The capturer, whether dead or alive, will be rewarded. After hearing this news, Su Wei held back a cold smile. This Gan Xinren has ulterior motives. It seems that he has not completely eliminated the doubts he had last night. In addition, the theft of the medical department is likely to be done by the same person. Worried that his secrets would be exposed, he wanted to kill the person to silence him. Chapter 416 Instigation. Unfortunately, Su Wei has a lot of tricks, and Gan Xinren's plan is likely to fail. However, even if Su Wei is discovered, he is not afraid, and he is confident that no one in Qixing Palace can keep him. The reason why he went to such great lengths? The purpose is to maximize the combat effectiveness of Qixing Palace. After all, there are tens of thousands of people, and it will take a long time to kill them in a line. Now, Su Wei just thought of a good way to make them kill each other. So, at night, Su Wei once again transformed into K-Tao X and appeared on the 6th floor of Qixing Palace. The 5th and 6th floors here are where nobles and dignitaries live. Tonight, Su Wei's goal is to go straight to the big wooden villa where Wang Bing is. As Gan Xinren's #1 confidant and the second in command of Qixing Palace, Wang Bing's life is so moist. There is no feeling of misery under the catastrophe. If it weren't for the fact that his first wife is still there, and her charm is still there, he must have had many wives and concubines. In addition, his strength is not weak, a 6-star evolver. He holds a pivotal position in Qixing Palace. With the help of hidden odor potion, breathing potion and cloaking device, Su Wei easily broke through the layers of guards and came to the interior of the villa. Of course, there was also the necessary sleepyhead. At this time, most of the villa was shrouded in darkness, except for a small attic, which was still dimly lit. Su Wei went over without thinking. A skilled person is bold, what is there to be afraid of? Sure enough, it was as Su Wei expected. In this attic, he found the target person Wang Bing. As the second person in Qixing Palace, his attention is naturally not low, and it is not difficult to find out what he looks like. Compared with Gan Xinren's burly figure, Wang Bing looks a little thin. Of course, it is only relatively speaking. Wang Bing himself also has a good physique, otherwise how could he reach the height of a 6-star evolver? In addition, Wang Bing is better maintained than Gan Xinren. He is nearly 50 years old, but he still looks like he is in his 40s. And he is more elegant than Gan Xinren. Judging from their appearance, he and Li Sumei are a perfect match. However, such a handsome old man actually has Hulanbuer Prairie on his head. It's a bit unbelievable to say it. Is it because of some aspects? What a pity, he is a handsome man. If it were in Phaeton, Qin Lao might have a way. While looking at Wang Bing, Su Wei couldn't help thinking with a bad taste. However, you can't judge a person by his appearance, and you can't measure the sea by a bucket. He doesn't need to worry too much about the affairs between husband and wife. It's more important to hurry up and do business. Thinking of this, Su Wei quietly climbed in through the window and sat on a chair not far from Wang Bing. With his 8th level strength, he can naturally land silently. This attic is arranged as a study. It's hard to imagine that books that were not popular before the catastrophe are piled up in a room here. Did Wang Bing rob the museum? He likes to collect physical books. This hobby is really rare in the wasteland. Is there no normal hobby in this Kixing Palace? Ahem. Sui, who had already appeared for a while, had to cough twice to wake up Wang Bing, who was reading with relish. Who? Wang Bing, who was immersed in the ocean of books, jumped up directly. Looking in the direction of the voice, he saw a figure covered in black clothes, even the head and face were tightly wrapped, sitting on his guest chair. You are Wang Bing, old Wang, Sui asked instead of answering. Please explain your purpose. Wang Bing's face was solemn, his eyes fixed on the other party, and he had no time to care about the other party's insulting words. Because he knew that being able to appear here quietly without being discovered could only mean that the strength of the man in front of him was unfathomable. If he wanted to do something to him, he was afraid that he would not even have the chance to resist. Therefore, he had to be particularly careful. Don't be nervous, I'm just here to discuss a business deal with you. By the way, you'd better not press that thing. Don't doubt it, I will definitely crush you to death before the guards arrive. Sui's voice was extremely calm, but what he said was extremely shocking. Talk about business, what business? Wang Bing's face changed again with fear, and he asked hurriedly, but at the same time he also let go of the alarm he was stepping on. No more words, watch the video first. Sui directly showed the footage he had taken last night in the form of a video. The figures of Li Sumei and Gan Xinren suddenly appeared on the holographic screen floating in the air. Seeing this scene, Wang Bing's eyes suddenly shrank like needles. The video was very short. It was only about 1 or 2 minutes. But the all-round, multi-angle, high-definition picture showed the two people's compromise vividly. Boom. When the video stopped at the scene where the two were about to take a step further, Wang Bing could no longer hold on and fell down on the chair he had just stood up. His face was as pale as paper, and his eyes were filled with anger. Although the following video was lost because he made a sound by accident, Sui knew that this was enough. The ice is not formed in one day. He didn't believe that Wang Bing had no doubts from beginning to end. I knew it, don't bully your friend's wife, Li Sumei, you bitch, Gan Xinren, you bastard. Wang Bing, who fell on the chair, couldn't help but curse in an extremely suppressed low voice. Although he was extremely angry, he still considered Sui's existence, fearing that it would cause unnecessary misunderstandings. I don't need to say anything else. In a word, do you want to endure it? Or do you want to resist? Sui looked at Wang Bing with interest and asked him to do a multiple-choice question. Wang Bing, who was originally extremely angry, didn't know what he thought of. He suddenly became like a deflated ball. What if he couldn't endure it? She was a 7th-level awakener, and he was just a 6-star evolver. Not only in terms of level, but also in terms of talent, he is inferior to Gan Xinren. What can he use to resist? Are you worried that you can't beat Gan Xinren? Sui saw through Wang Bing's heart and asked. Not bad, his strength is not as simple as it seems, Wang Bing said with gritted teeth. Oh, how is it not simple? Sui suddenly became interested. Wang Bing was stunned. Although he hated Gan Xinren very much, he also had a grudge against the stranger in front of him. Speak. If you don't speak, how can I help you? Sui threw out an olive branch at the right time. Chapter 417 Forced to open. Are you serious? Wang Bing stood up again in surprise. With this person's mystery, there might be hope to achieve the plan ahead of time. Of course, otherwise, why would I come all the way to show you a movie in the middle of the night? Sui asked proudly. But, how can I believe you have the ability? Wang Bing showed a hesitant look. Have you heard of Kato X? Sui asked. I have, Wang Bing nodded. Who hasn't heard of Kato X, who has been popular in the entire Kixing Palace recently? Not only did he hear about it, but he was also ordered to track it down. Unfortunately, this person came and went without a trace, and there was no way to investigate. That's me. Sui directly dropped a heavy bomb. What? Wang Bing was directly blown away. He never dreamed that the two would meet under such circumstances. No wonder he had a video of Gan Xinren and Li Sumei's tryst. This also further proved that he was Kato X, otherwise, who would have the ability to take a sneak shot of the demon general Gan Xinren. How is it? You can tell me now. Sui looked at Wang Bing's shocked expression and said lightly. Okay, let's bet. Wang Bing gritted his teeth and made a decision. The opportunity was fleeting, and he didn't want to be cheated all the time. Then, Wang Bing told Gan Xinren's extraordinary ability. It turned out that Gan Xinren's ability was the same as Wang Dong's, which could turn his whole body into metal and mutate into a little golden man. But his talent was much better than Wang Dong's. After all, he was an awakener, and his grade was higher than that of an evolver. More importantly, in addition to Ganzinran's ability to turn into metal, he also had an abnormal skill. That was liquid metal. It didn't seem to have much lethality, but it was his trump card to save his life. It was almost impossible to be killed. This was very powerful. When you thought he was dead, he suddenly jumped up and reversed the situation in an instant. In addition, he could also hide quietly and then attack instantly, making it hard to defend against. Since the combat power of metallization is already very strong. Therefore, few people have seen Ganzinran's liquid skills. Because most of the people who have seen it have become dead. In the entire demon realm, the only ones who can restrain Ganzinran are probably the magnetic power of the first demon general and the telekinesis power of the demon king of the demon realm. Therefore, Ganzinran is firmly in the third place in the demon realm. In fact, strictly speaking, if it were not for the restraint of the attributes, the first demon general might not be Ganzinran's opponent. Liquid metal, Sui couldn't help but smile contemptuously when he heard it. I thought it was a very powerful ability, but it turned out to be a rubbish skill. Although it is a bit troublesome, it only takes a few more tricks for him. It's not difficult to solve. Wang Bing was speechless for a while. He naturally heard the disdain and contempt in Sui's voice. I don't know if he has no idea or really doesn't care. I wonder what Sir X hopes to get. After a short silence, Wang Bing took the lead to ask. There is no free lunch in the world, and Kato X will never help him for no reason. To be honest, I haven't made up my mind yet. At the moment, I just simply don't like Ganzinran. You can also understand it as I am helping others when I see injustice. Sui smiled slightly. He was talking nonsense. Could he say that he wanted the entire demon realm? If he really said that, Wang Bing would be scared to death. Wang Bing was stunned. This reason was too far-fetched. Could it be that Ganzinran was playing hard to get? He wanted me to resist first, and then kill me with a legitimate reason? It was terrifying to think about it. Wang Bing looked at Sui with suspicion. Hey, let me make it clear first, no matter what the reason is, you have no choice. Sui's voice suddenly became cold. Huh? Wang Bing didn't understand what was going on, and looked at Sui with even more surprise. To be honest, if you don't deal with Ganzinran, then I will make these things public. I don't care anyway, you are the one who will be embarrassed, Sui said without any worry. Regardless of the outcome, his goal was achieved. The people in Kixing Palace must be in chaos. Wang Bing was so angry that he wanted to tear the other party apart. But his strong rationality made him endure it. It was obvious that the other party wanted to see Kixing Palace make a fool of itself. If he didn't join, he would have to see his own joke first. Once this layer of window paper was broken, he and Ganzinran would have to end up dead or alive. No, he would have to die. Sui was right. This matter was beyond his control. It seems that you are not going to agree, old Wang. Well, let's make the headlines of Kixing Palace tomorrow. Looking at the hesitant Wang Bing, Sui said calmly. Wait, Wang Bing hurriedly stopped him. Oh, changed your mind, Sui smiled. Yes, for the dignity of a man, Wang Bing said in a deep voice. Tell me about your plan, Sui asked calmly. I don't care what dignity you are doing, as long as you work. Again, he didn't believe Wang Bing didn't know anything about it. He must have been hiding it for a long time. Once given a chance, such a person would give Ganzinran a fatal blow. He would never leave him a chance to survive. The day after tomorrow, there will be a bravery championship before this expedition. To compete for the commander of this expedition, I think this will be an opportunity. Sure enough, Wang Bing said it without even thinking about it. It can be seen that he is always thinking about how to deal with Ganzinran. Braveness Championship, will the Demon King of the Demon Realm participate? Sui asked curiously after hearing this. If the Demon King can be beheaded by the way, it would be a good thing. No, however, the champion of the Bravery Championship will have the opportunity to be received by the Demon King and receive the title of Demon Warrior, Wang Bing explained. If the Demon King of the Demon Realm came in person, how could he dare to make trouble? The Demon King of the Demon Realm has unparalleled telekinesis. Let alone action, even if he just looks at him, the matter may be exposed. But the Demon King didn't care about these things. As long as he didn't betray the Demon Realm, even if Wang Bing killed Ganzinran and replaced the position of the Master of Kixing Palace, he wouldn't ask. On the contrary, he would recognize Wang Bing's position as the most capable. This is the law of the jungle in the demon realm. Demon realm warrior, Su Wei asked casually after thinking. It's the person who gets the most first place in the whole army competition, after obtaining the title of demon realm warrior. As long as you survive the battle, you can directly enter the Demon King's capital and become the Demon King's guard when you come back, Wang Bing went on to explain. Chapter 418 Competition. Time passed in a blink of an eye and it was the day of the Bravery Championship. After a short period of training, all the troops drove to the open space outside the city to accept the inspection of the Demon General. Wang Dong finally came out of the medical hospital. After 7 days of psychological torture, his skin has finally returned to normal. This immediately made him feel like he had survived a disaster. And Su Wei also obtained a data, that is, the mixed version of the skin color potion. The drug effect time was extended by 2 days. Well, thank Wang Dong for his sacrifice for the scientific experiment. The military review of Kixing Palace was nothing to watch. It was nothing more than counting the number of people and shouting slogans. The real highlight was in the afternoon, when the first Demon General Pukama would come with his subordinates to participate in the competition. And the highlight of the competition was the competition of senior personnel. The 100-man team that Su Wei was in had the task of competing against the competition. So, after lunch, they were taken to the large playground that was temporarily designated. It is worth mentioning that Wang Dong had a special person in charge of food and water throughout the whole process, and he no longer ate and drank with everyone. They were even more wary of Su Wei. Su Wei was happy to be free, and he would smile mysteriously from time to time, which made Wang Dong and Zuba's backs cold. HMPH, let's see how long you can be arrogant. Wang Dong was so angry about Su Wei's provocation. However, his parents told him not to cause trouble for the time being, and after today, he could do whatever he wanted. For this reason, Wang Dong could only endure it. Not long after Su Wei and others arrived, Gan Xinren came to the playground with a group of subordinates, accompanied by a group of confidants and important members of the base. Wang Bing and his wife were also among them. This was a major event in the base, so each member brought a family member. They were all dressed up and beautiful. The atmosphere on the field could not help but change. The strange thing was that Gan Xinren was alone and did not bring any female relatives. If Su Wei had not seen it with his own eyes that night, he would have doubted whether this guy was not capable. Of course, the guards responsible for safety were indispensable. There are at least thousands of them, all of them are masters, and there are basically no less than 2 stars. They all belong to the regular army of Kixing Palace, and their treatment is much better than that of Su Wei and others who are temporarily assembled. If it weren't for Su Wei's accident. After today's competition, Wang Dong and others will enter the regular army because of their excellent performance. Unfortunately, things are unpredictable, and today is destined to be an unexpected existence. Not long after Gan Xinren arrived, there was a burst of dust outside the venue. A convoy drove straight in. Leading the way was a modified all-terrain off-road vehicle. The huge body was equipped with a large number of weapons, which looked like a small mobile fortress. Following behind were several large transport vehicles and a team of maglev motorcycle escorts. Creak. The car drove to the rostrum and stopped. Then the upper door opened, revealing the luxurious decoration inside. The outside is a mobile fortress, but the inside is a mobile palace. It shows the style of the local tyrants, which made Su Wei look envious. If you have this thing, you will be happy to go to war in the future. At this moment, Su Wei directly marked it. After defeating the demon realm, this thing will be mine. At this time, 2 people got out of the car. One was a greasy uncle in his 50s, with a slicked back hair, long hair to the ears, and a pair of gold-rimmed framed glasses on his face. Narrow eyes, high nose bridge, gorilla lips, and a black mole under the right corner of his mouth. There are few long black hairs on the black mole. A standard military uniform can't improve its temperament, but it feels like a traitor and a traitor. In short, people feel disgusted at first sight. And it is such a person, the famous first demon general Pugan in the demon realm. A man who completely defeated Gan Xinren. Pugan was followed by a charming woman, wearing a fiery red evening dress, revealing smooth and white shoulders and a pair of porcelain white long legs. Instantly gives people a sense of impact of Beauty and the Beast. Beauty is more beautiful, and the Beast is more beastly. As the 2 slowly got off the car, the soldiers on the transport vehicles behind also jumped off the cars and quickly assembled into a square team. They were the Red Iron Army of the Red Iron City base under the rule of Uragama. When Uragama stepped onto the ground with his woman, the team had already assembled. At the same time, the vehicles drove away, vacated the venue, and stopped at the designated place. Haha, Brother Gan, I haven't seen you for a long time. I hope you are well. Uragama greeted Gan Zinran on the stage with a smile on his face. I hope you are well, Brother Pooh. Please take a seat. Gan Zinran stood up and greeted him with a smile on his face. Uragama didn't bring many subordinates with him, but they all brought an elegant and beautiful female family member. For a while, the field was full of competition. The competition began quietly. After a few greetings, everyone took their positions and the Brave Crown competition officially kicked off. The competition is divided into two major events, namely shooting and dueling. Among them, shooting is divided into subtle events such as close shooting and long shooting. Duels are divided into single duels and group duels. In addition, the participants are divided into two groups. They are regular troops and temporarily formed ragtag troops. Generally speaking, it is regular troops against regular troops, and ragtag troops against ragtag troops. This is to determine who is the strongest, and thus determine the commander of this expedition. You must know that the iron-blooded rule of the demon realm is that whoever grabs it is his. As a commander, you have more power and opportunities to win the war and gain more benefits. Therefore, every time you go out, you will fight for the position of commander. Gaining more naturally means more and faster strength improvement. Of course, if the ragtag troops feel that they are strong enough, they can also challenge the regular army. It's just that the resources of the regular army are stable and abundant, so the strength of the regular army is much stronger than that of the ragtag army. Naturally, no one will challenge the regular army to their own death. The first competition is shooting. Close shooting is multi-target moving target shooting. That is to enter a special venue with many randomly appearing moving targets. Whoever can hit the most rings within the specified time wins. At the same time, these moving targets will also be mixed with bomb targets, which means that after hitting them, the corresponding points will be deducted. If you are unlucky enough to hit a bomb target at close range, you may be eliminated directly. This competition combines comprehensive abilities such as accuracy, speed, eyesight, and practical experience. It is not just about having good marksmanship that can win. Long-range shooting is shooting at a single target moving target. The shooting distance is 3 kilometers, and the target will also move irregularly. The emergence of the enhancer has made the wasteland world's requirements for shooting very high. It's not just because of the improvement of their own strength, but more importantly, only by raising the requirements can they hit the enemy. Otherwise, even if you have a gun in your hand, you may not be able to hit the enhancer. Not to mention the evolvers and awakeners. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419 Twins. In order to save time, each side sent 5 representatives to participate. Now, the captain of the ragtag army of Kixing Palace is Wang Dong. Who will participate and who will not participate is naturally up to him. Su Wei was excluded without any surprise. Little did he know that Su Wei didn't want to participate at all. Wouldn't it be nice to lie down and watch the show leisurely? So, at the beginning of the game, Su Wei was at the back of the team, holding a toothpick in his mouth, very leisurely. If you want to eat, it will appear in your mouth and you can chew it directly. If you want to drink, it will appear in your mouth and you can drink it directly. That's quite comfortable. The first to play was the regular army, and both sides played well. At least they were all 8 or 9 rings. There was a man named Hubei who scored the highest score of 99 rings in close shooting. All 10 targets were hit, without any accidental injuries, and there was only one mistake, scoring 9 rings. Otherwise it would be full marks. Not only that, he also scored an impressive score of 96 rings in long-range shooting. At a distance of 3 kilometers, out of 10 shots, 6 shots hit 10 rings, 2 shots hit 9 rings, and 1 shot hit 8 rings. Such a result is enough to be proud of the whole army. Unfortunately, this Hubei is a subordinate of the first demon General Pukama. There is no doubt that Pukama won the first game. Gan Zinran's face suddenly looked bad. It was certainly not a good feeling to be defeated by others in his own home court. The soldiers of Kixing Palace suddenly stopped fighting. On the other hand, the Chedi army was cheering and celebrating their first victory. Brother Gan, I won a game by chance, Pu Kama said modestly to Gan Zinran in the stands. But his face was full of smugness, without any modesty. Then congratulations to Brother Pu first, Gan Zinran could only reply with a fake smile. Haha, thank you for your good words, Pu Kama said unceremoniously. Gan Zinran turned his head away from him and focused on the next game. Pu Gan stopped showing off and turned his head to look at the stadium below, but a playful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Fuck. What's going on? Why is it him again? This is a foul. At this time, the protests of the Kixing Palace soldiers rang out from the audience. It turned out that the representatives of the two sides' miscellaneous armies came out. But the one who achieved the best result, Hubei, was also among them, and judging from the ranking, he was still in the last position. Although he changed his clothes, everyone's eyes were not blind. How could they not recognize him? So they all shouted. This Chitty City is too unkind, blatantly cheating. Brother Pu, what do you mean? Gan Zinran's face sank, and he turned to Pu Gan on the side and questioned. Are you bullying my Kixing Palace blind? Haha, Brother Gan, don't get me wrong, he is not Hubei, but Hubei's twin brother Hubal. He was just conscripted this time. Pu Gan took a sip of the water handed to him by the woman next to him, and then explained slowly. As he said this, he waved to the audience. Sure enough, another Hubei came out from the Chitty army, saluted to the rostrum, and turned back. Oh my god. Twins? Hubei? Hubal? Baber? I can't tell them apart. But everyone still thinks that the one who is on the field looks more like Hubei. However, even if it is Hubei, so what? They said they are twin brothers. It's up to them to decide who is who. Damn it. Gan Zinran waved his hand with a sullen face and let the game continue. This guy knows he's going to suffer a loss, but he has no place to complain. Everyone in Kixing Palace was silent. They could only swallow their anger. They watched the score of Chitty City rise sharply. The most infuriating thing is that Hubal, who is called the younger brother, scored the same 99 rings in close shooting, the same score. They are twins, so are their marksmanship also twins? Unfortunately, this is not an international competition. Do they need to do a genetic test? Master Dong, let Wang Lang go, maybe there's still a glimmer of hope, an instructor couldn't help but suggest to Wang Dong. If they lose this game, then Kixing Palace will lose face this time. Wang Dong looked at the opponent's greatly increased score, and his face darkened. As we all know, Wang Lang's gun skills are the best among the miscellaneous troops. Although he doesn't expect to win, at least he can make the score look better. It won't be such a terrible loss. Okay, request a substitution. In the end, Wang Dong compromised. In comparison, he hoped that Kixing Palace would win more. As for his grudge with Su Wei, we will talk about it later. Anyway, after today, it will be his death. Yes, Master Dong, the instructor who proposed hurriedly ran to stop the game and asked for a substitution. After obtaining the consent of Gan Zinran and Pu Jian, the miscellaneous troops of Kixing Palace got a chance to substitute. This is also the last place. The first four failed to perform well and were in a stalemate with the players of Chitty Cheng. Only, Hubal opened up the score as soon as he appeared. Yellow Wolf. Yellow Wolf, it all depends on you this time. The instructor quickly ran to Su Wei and asked him to participate in the competition. Okay, I'll try. Su Wei stood up and walked out lazily. Everyone saw that they couldn't sit still. Why did they change to someone who looked even more unreliable? Not only did he look wretched, but he was also baggy. Not to mention shooting, he could hardly stand steadily. Haha, Brother Gan, have you given up directly? Looking at Su Wei walking towards the shooting range step by step, Pu Can couldn't help but tease. This person, it seems, is much worse than the previous contestants. Brother Pu, wait and see. Gan Zinran was also full of doubts, but thinking that this person was recommended by the instructors, he ignited a glimmer of hope. Maybe he really has something extraordinary. Haha, okay, let's wait and see. Pu Can couldn't help laughing. When everyone was pessimistic, Su Wei walked into the test site. When he was about to enter the door, he tripped over the threshold and almost fell. This action immediately caused the people of Chitty City to laugh. On the other hand, the people of Kixing Palace were so embarrassed that they wanted to cover their faces. At this moment, even the recommended instructor had serious doubts, wondering if he had not woken up. Let's start. Su Wei didn't care about the eyes of the crowd. He was really confused just now and didn't see the hidden threshold. The side he designed was one step lower than the outside, and the ground color was similar. If you are not careful, you will fall. Don't you want to check the gun? The person in charge of the switch kindly reminded. It's okay, there's still time. Su Wei nodded confidently. Okay, start. The operator immediately pressed the start button, the target position began to move rapidly, and the timer started working. Chapter 420, Sure Win. At this time, Su Wei slowly picked up the pistol on the stage. He knew it was light when he picked it up. It should be because the previous contestant did not replenish the ammunition after firing empty. So, in the shocked eyes of everyone, Su Wei began to change the magazine. Su Wei's arrogance is one aspect. But an expert can tell the quality of the magazine as soon as he makes a move. Su Wei's speed of changing the magazine can be described as lightning. It was completed in almost a blink of an eye, and then, 10 shots were fired in a row. Then he dropped the pistol to indicate that he had finished. The operator hesitated for 2 or 3 seconds before pressing the stop button. For a moment, the air in the venue was as silent as if it had frozen. Did he hit one? Did he aim? These two questions were the most questions in the minds of the audience. Because Su Wei was not seen aiming and observing at all, it was as if he fired 10 shots randomly around. One shot is not more, one shot is not less. Yellow Wolf, close shooting results 11,100 rings. Soon, the referee announced the results in an extremely shocked voice. Every shot hit the 10 rings, without any mistakes or accidental injuries. The key is that he took half the time than Hubel. This is a damn talented shooter. Yet, after a short silence, Kixing Palace erupted in thunderous cheers. It was as if they had foreseen victory. He's sorry, Brother Pooh, I'm afraid you will be disappointed in the result. Gan Xinren was finally able to vent his anger this time, and couldn't help but look at Pu Gan, who was stunned, and said, Really, there's still one round, it's still unknown who will win. Pu Gan's face darkened, but he still said stubbornly. Hu Baiya was the best shooter he had ever seen, with perfect talent and speed. He didn't believe that Wang Lang could surpass him. So what if the close shooting result was good? It was just a 1-point difference. Hu Baiya could do it sometimes, but he was just unlucky today. Pu Gan regarded Su Wei's full score as a blind cat catching a dead mouse. Next, it was the long-range shooting competition. Hubel and Su Wei were also put on the last stage. However, Hubel stared at Su Wei for a long time before going on stage, and then made a gesture of wiping his neck towards him. He was unwilling to fall behind by 1 point. Su Wei smiled nonchalantly. However, the more Wang Lang smiled, the more wretched he became. Instead, it became a silent provocation, which made Hubel very angry. Bang, bang, bang. Hubel played more cautiously this time and actually got an excellent score of 97 rings. Hearing the driving skills reported back by the referee, Hubel looked at Su Wei proudly and smiled. Although it was only 1 point more, it was not something that everyone could do to go one step further. That's it, Su Wei disdained Hubel's eyes. He walked straight up and picked up the sniper rifle. This made everyone hold their breath. Can he create another miracle? 97 rings and a long shot. This is also the limit for the wasteland world. Bang! After a careful examination, Su Wei fired the first shot. He immediately had a feeling in his heart. Bang, bang, bang. The rest, 2, were fired in one breath. Except for the loading of the bullet, there was almost no pause. The air was silent again. Due to the long-range shooting, no one could see the result, and could only wait for the referee on the other side to announce it. Yellow Wolf. Result, 1,100 rings. After a long time, the referee's shocked voice came from the intercom. Obviously, the opponent had confirmed it several times before carrying it out. Haha, you shot well, Su Wei walked back with a smile. When passing by Hubel, he whispered. The latter was immediately furious and his face turned red. Oh. Kixing Palace was immediately boiling. 100. An unprecedented result. This is destined to be recorded in history and become the eternal pride of Kixing Palace. Wait, I doubt the authenticity of the result. I want to check. Just when Gan Xinren was about to announce the result of the game with a proud look on his face, Pu Can stopped him with a sullen face. This is the home court of Kixing Palace, and it is hard to say whether the referee is fair. Check immediately, check right away, go, go, go. Gan Xinren was slightly stunned. then immediately agreed, and even stood up to personally invite Pu Can to go with him. He did not instruct on this matter, and the results must be true. He could give Pu Can another slap in the face by checking generously. How could such an opportunity be missed? Soon, Gan Xinren and Pu Can drove to the shooting range 3 kilometers away. It was already ready. Without exception, every target was right in the center of the bullseye, just like it was made with a ruler. There was even a surveillance video that perfectly restored Su Wei's long-range shooting. "Brother Pu, how is it? My people are very honest and will never lie." Gan Xinren took the opportunity to sneer at Pu Can. Pu Can knew he was in the wrong, and was speechless. The originally flawless plan was suddenly interrupted by Cheng Yaojin. "Haha, I now officially announce that Kixing Palace wins this round." Gan Xinren struck while the iron was hot and announced the result directly on the intercom. The stadium was immediately filled with the enthusiastic noise of the people of Kixing Palace. This time it was the turn of the people of Chitty City to swallow their anger. Gan Xinren returned to the rostrum in high spirits, while Pu Jian was a little shabby. However, his bad luck was not over yet. At this moment, Gan Xinren directly instructed Wang Dong to challenge the regular army of Chengti City in the shooting event. Su Wei alone was enough to challenge all the opponents. Faced with a sudden challenge, Pu Jian could only grit his teeth and announce his defeat. Let Kixing Palace directly get a double kill. One wrong step, all wrong steps. Pu Jian really regretted it. If Hu Bai did not participate in the shooting competition of the miscellaneous army, perhaps he would not be like this now. It's really a case of losing the big for the small. Chitty City, which had originally started with a good start, now not only lost face, but also lost 2 games in a row, and even the regular army was humiliated by the opponent's miscellaneous brands. This is an unprecedented record. But despite this, the game has to continue. Next, it went directly to the duel stage. This is not restricted by the venue, and it is basically a competition on the same stage. It was soon determined who was better. The regular army of Chitty City and the regular army of Kixing Palace ended in a tie, 1 draw and 2 losses. But when the miscellaneous army was competing, there was another accident. Wang Dong relied on the close combat advantage of the metallization ability to win the key game, allowing the miscellaneous army of Kixing Palace to achieve a record of 3 wins in 5 games. There is no doubt that Kixing Palace will win this time. So far, it has achieved a record of 3 wins and 1 draw. There are 2 remaining team duels, and even if Chitty City wins all, it will be powerless to turn the tide. Gan Xinren's hearty laughter rang out on the field. Chapter 421 Celebration Banquet. Qi Ticheng, which suffered setbacks one after another, made mistakes in the team competition. Not only did the miscellaneous army lose the game, but even the regular army made serious mistakes and lost bitterly. In the end, Kixing Palace won. This time, Qi Ticheng can be said to have lost completely. Gan Xinren, who had always been suppressed, was really happy for once. Pu Kama left angrily and did not even attend the usual dinner. This result will appear on the table of the Demon King tomorrow morning. By then, he will not even think about his position as commander. Thinking of this, Pu Kama's anger rose even more. In comparison, Gan Xinren's face was flushed, and he drank heartily. Counting it up, he seemed to have never defeated the first demon general Pu Kama so thoroughly. As the second for thousands of years, he finally felt proud this time. He even felt that after this battle, the position of Kixing Palace could be moved forward. Get rid of the title of the second. Therefore, Gan Xinren was full of expectations for this expedition. At the banquet, Gan Xinren made an exception and directly let Wang Dong and Su Wei sit in the inner room. The 2 of them were the biggest contributors today, especially Su Wei, who reversed the disadvantage of the game in one fell swoop and laid the foundation for the victory of Kixing Palace. However, at this moment, everyone was praising Wang Dong's key battle, as if his battle was the classic that turned the tide. Gan Xinren also praised Wang Dong and promised many rewards. He only mentioned Su Wei in passing. No one in the cabinet would care about this. What people outside saw was that Su Wei was treated with great courtesy by the demon general. It was clear that they wanted to attribute the credit to Wang Dong and make Su Wei suffer. Unfortunately, these people made a wrong calculation. Su Wei didn't care. He ate and drank alone, and seemed very calm. Such performance fell into Gan Xinren's eyes, and he couldn't help but look at him differently. He thought that if he could be used by himself, he would be a talent. Now Wang Dong is just like Gan Xinren, full of pride and arrogance. He even forgot his hatred for Sui. He enjoyed the flattery and drank to his heart's content. However, in the cabinet where everyone was happy, there was only one person who forced a smile. That was Wang Dong's father, Gan Xinren's sworn brother, Wang Bing. He made an appointment with K-Tao X to take action tonight, but until now, he still hasn't received a response. He is ready here. If K-Tao X doesn't come, he will be barbecue Alice. Even if K-Tao X stands him up, he can't do it, because there is no turning back. A friend dies but the poor sage dies. This is Wang Bing's principle of life. Hey wait, that is just as Wang Bing was sighing, in a blink of an eye, there was an X mark at the agreed place. It looked like a child's graffiti, casual and crooked. But Wang Bing was ecstatic. He really came. Even in this cabinet full of experts, Gan Xinren didn't find it, which shows that Phantom Thief X's ability is unfathomable. How could he know that Phantom Thief X was sitting diagonally opposite him blatantly? Wang Bing immediately hinted at the execution of the plan. The pre-placed personnel immediately took action. The atmosphere of the dinner was high and lasted until the second half of the night. People gradually dispersed. Gan Xinren seemed to be a little too much. He even talked to Wang Dong with a dazed look in his eyes. The latter felt very favored. Wang Bing and others naturally stayed. Sui had been invited away by the guards. The people outside had already dispersed, and the value of this guy had been used up. If he was not invited out, would he be kept for the new year? What's more, there are important matters to deal with later, and irrelevant personnel should stay away. If Wang Bing knew that he had cleared Phantom Thief X away, I wonder what he would think. Fortunately, none of these could stump Sui. After being sent back to the barracks, he immediately rushed out in stealth, sat on the roof of the car he came from, and returned to the cabinet of Kixing Palace. This trip was just a lonely one. Crash. When Sui quietly entered the cabinet again, the scene here had changed. It was so happy when he left, but now it was a bleak scene. Wang Bing and a group of guards surrounded Gan Xinren. His wife Li Sumai and son Wang Dong were isolated in another corner by the guards. In the hall, there were several guards lying in a pool of blood. They were obviously Gan Xinren's confidants who were solved in the first place. Sui shouted that he was lucky and came just in time, otherwise he would have missed a good show. It's a pity that he can't eat melon seeds, otherwise it would be perfect. Wang Bing, do you want to rebel? Gan Xinren stared at Wang Bing outside the crowd with an ugly face. A group of whiff-like guards trained by himself actually pointed the butcher knife at himself. This is simply a great irony. Haha, rebellion, no, no, no. The Demon King said that the position should be occupied by the capable. You are already qualified for the position of Demon General. Let me do it. I can definitely do it 10 times better than you, Wang Bing said with a smile on his face. He showed off his elegant temperament. Bah, wishful thinking. Do you think you can kill me with just a few of them? Gan Xinren stood up and his sturdy body suddenly stood out like a crane among chickens. Perhaps it was because of his remaining power. This move made the group of guards who surrounded him unconsciously step back. Gan Xinren, after drinking my poison wine, you will soon taste the pain of a myriad of poisons gnawing at your heart. Wang Bing immediately spoke to stabilize the morale of the army. You poisoned. Sure enough, Gan Xinren's face changed drastically. Haha, it's too late to realize it now. Wang Bing immediately showed a happy smile. This made the guards take another step forward. Can the poison that can poison a 7th level awakener be ordinary? Humph, that night, it was you, but, Wang Bing, don't think you've won just like that. At worst, we'll die. Gan Xinren rushed forward, his whole body metallized, turning into a big golden man. Stop him. Wang Bing's face tightened, and he shouted immediately. The group of guards rushed forward immediately. However, how could they stop the furious Gan Xinren? In a few breaths, Gan Xinren broke out of the encirclement and rushed straight towards Wang Bing. However, Wang Bing, who was originally panicked, suddenly calmed down, which made Sui, who was secretly preparing to attack, stop again. It seems that Wang Bing has a trick up his sleeve. In this case, let's wait and see. Let's see what his trump card is. While thinking, Gan Xinren had already rushed in front of Wang Bing and swung his metal fist to hide him. The same move, but Gan Xinren's performance was much stronger than Wang Dong's. Wang Bing also fought back. He couldn't avoid the speed just now, so he quickly concentrated all his strength on his right arm and swung his fist to meet it. Chapter 422 Unexpected. Bang! Just when everyone thought Wang Bing was overestimating himself, An unexpected result occurred. Gan Xinren, who was originally aggressive, was knocked back several steps by Wang Bing's punch before he managed to stabilize himself. Such a result shocked everyone's eyes. When did the evolvers become so awesome? In the case of the same level, the evolvers may not be able to beat them, let alone when the levels are even different. You have a breakthrough? Gan Xinren looked at Wang Bing in shock. Haha, yes, I forgot to tell you, I am now a peak 7-star evolver, so, there is no problem for me to replace you, Wang Bing said proudly. How is it possible? Gan Xinren said in surprise. Wang Bing's aptitude is not good, how could he have such a rapid growth? Isn't it all thanks to your care, not only good to her, but also good to my son and even better to me, so, I swear, my biggest goal in this life is to kill you with my own hands, so, go to hell. Wang Bing's expression became a little ferocious. Anyone who encounters such a thing will feel resentful. As he said that, Wang Bing rushed forward. Bang! However, the faster he went, the faster he retreated. Wang Bing, who was so arrogant just now, was actually knocked back by Gan Xinren's punch. And the distance he retreated was much farther than Gan Xinren's retreat just now. Puff, how could it be? Wang Bing was shocked, his chest ached unbearably, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. The difference between them was immediately clear. And it can be seen that the gap between the two is not a little bit. Humph, garbage is garbage, so what if you are at the peak of 7 stars, the level accumulated by resources is not a real master? Gan Xinren smiled cruelly at Wang Bing. No, that's not right, why aren't you poisoned? Wang Bing immediately noticed something was wrong. Gan Xinren was not sad or panicked at this moment. I didn't drink the wine you gave me at all, I gave you this opportunity just to see how many cards you have, but now it seems that I am really disappointed. Gan Xinren put his hands behind his back and completely restored his previous domineering attitude. Wang Bing's face changed drastically, and he couldn't help but look around, hoping to find the trace of Kato X. Unfortunately, he found nothing. Yo, it seems that there are powerful foreign aids. Okay, then we will wait, just right, catch them all in one fell swoop. Gan Xinren saw Wang Bing's look and said calmly. Hey, listen carefully, put down your weapons and surrender now, and I can forgive you for what happened, otherwise, seeing that Wang Bing didn't answer, Gan Xinren turned around and said to the betrayed guards. For a moment, the guards hesitated. The reason why they were willing to follow Wang Bing in the rebellion was because Wang Bing's temptation led them to fall, and Wang Bing had the evidence. Once Gan Xinren knew about it, he would be dead. Now that Gan Xinren has verbally promised, can he take the opportunity to confess and get leniency? Don't listen to him, when the time comes, you will definitely die. Today, we have to fight him to the end, either he dies or we die, Wang Bing shouted immediately. The look on his face became extremely solemn. Wang Bing's words immediately made the guards hesitate again. Puff, just as everyone hesitated, Gan Xinren, who was calm and composed, suddenly couldn't help spitting out a mouthful of blood. Perhaps because of the transformation, there were some liquid metals mixed in the blood. How the sudden change made everyone stunned, and only Wang Bing couldn't help laughing in his heart. How is this possible? When did you poison me? I didn't drink the wine you sent me. Gan Xinren felt severe pain in his internal organs. The pain made him unable to maintain his golden body, and he turned back to his original form, his face pale. This was clearly a sign of poisoning. But he was clearly on guard against Wang Bing, and the things he sent were not sticky at all. Haha, not only is the wine poisonous, but even the bowl of porridge you drank is poisonous. Wang Bing abandoned his previous elegance, his face full of ferocity and madness. Porridge. Gan Xinren's face changed drastically when he heard this, and he turned his head to look at Li Sumei beside him. Because that bowl of porridge was cooked by Li Sumei herself and brought to him. He never dreamed that Li Sumei would do this. Why? Gan Xinren was not only in great pain in his body, but also in his heart. He asked Li Sumei in a stern voice. Li Sumei lowered her head, and her expression could not be seen, but her trembling shoulders showed that she was also very excited. Wang Dong on the side was dumbfounded. He didn't understand why the 3 people who were the best to him on weekdays were fighting here. Sui, who was hiding, was surprised by this sudden reversal. It seems that there is another hidden story. It is really enjoyable to watch. The only regret is that I can't eat melon seeds. Oh. I am so sad. Why? Of course it is for revenge. Li Sumei didn't say anything. Wang Bing couldn't help but speak. Revenge. Gan Xinren's angry face was instantly confused. Do they have a grudge? Do you know who she is? She is your ex-girlfriend Ali, who was played with and ruthlessly abandoned by you, Wang Bing said with a smug look on his face. He was so happy to see Gan Xinren's current expression. Ali, no, 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 it's impossible. Isn't she dead? Gan Xinren's expression instantly changed as if he had seen a ghost. That's right, Ali is dead, and now it is Li Sumei who is alive. My love for you also died with Ali. Now, there is only this body and endless hatred for you. Li Sumei raised her head and spoke at this time. The originally beautiful face was covered with blue-black veins because of extreme anger, which looked particularly hideous and terrifying. It turns out that this is a story of love and being loved. Before the catastrophe, they were all very good friends. Gan Xinren was the first to win Ali's favor because of his tallness and handsomeness. This made Wang Bing, who secretly liked Ali, very frustrated. But Wang Bing knew that Gan Xinren was just a sea king, and he was with Ali just for fun. However, after he told Ali the truth, she didn't believe it and thought Wang Bing wanted to use this to destroy their relationship. Later, Ali accidentally became pregnant and hoped to marry Gan Xinren as soon as possible. At this time, Gan Xinren refused and asked her to have an abortion. Ali, who was treated like this, was discouraged and committed suicide by jumping into the river. Fortunately, Wang Bing followed her and rescued Ali. The adults were saved, but the child was gone. Chapter 423, Li Dai Tao Jiang. After hearing the news of Ali's suicide, Gan Xinren not only did not repent, but felt relieved, and soon hooked up with a new target. After witnessing it with her own eyes, Ali's heart died instantly. So she asked Wang Bing to help her revenge and make Gan Xinren regret it for the rest of her life. Wang Bing, who was born as a dog, agreed without hesitation. Ali spent a lot of money to have plastic surgery to look like this now, and appeared as Wang Bing's girlfriend. The two quickly got married and confirmed their relationship. How could Gan Xinren bear this familiar and seemingly intentional woman? Soon, he hooked up with Li Sumei behind Wang Bing's back. Not long after, Li Sumei became pregnant and gave birth to a boy, Wang Dong. Under Li Sumei's deliberate arrangement, Gan Xinren thought Wang Dong was his son. Perhaps because of his age, Gan Xinren gradually paid attention to this child, and was ready to wait for Wang Dong to become an adult, and then recognize his ancestors. The Gan family also had a small industry before the disaster. Li Sumei's goal is to make Wang Dong inherit the Gan family, and then when Gan Xinren gets old, cruelly tell him that Wang Dong is not his child, but her and Wang Bing's child. A woman becomes very scary when she is cruel. Unfortunately, things don't go as planned. Li Sumei's plan has not been implemented yet, and she encountered a catastrophe. But God seems to be helping her. 10 years after the catastrophe, they are still together. Gan Xinren founded Qixing Palace with his outstanding supernatural powers. But for some reason, all of Gan Xinren's women can't get pregnant. This makes him value Wang Dong even more. Originally, he wanted to get rid of Wang Bing directly, so that Li Sumei and Wang Dong can follow him legitimately. But Li Sumei sternly refused, saying that she was sorry for Wang Bing and couldn't murder him again. In fact, Li Sumei's desire for revenge has never disappeared because of the catastrophe. On the contrary, seeing Gan Xinren return to the peak of his life, the hatred in her heart has swelled. Therefore, Li Dai Tao Jiang's plan continues to be implemented. At this time, Gan Xinren naturally obeyed Li Sumei's words. Not only did he not plot to murder Wang Bing, but he also vigorously promoted Wang Bing so that he could obtain his current position. At the same time, he recognized Wang Dong as his godson. In this way, he could love Wang Dong with a clear reason. Of course, Gan Xinren did not believe that Wang Bing was a fool and had no idea that he was cuckolded. Therefore, he had been helping openly and monitoring secretly all along. He kept every move of Wang Bing in his hands. Even if Wang Bing was angry and embarrassed, he could not do anything to him. However, he had never expected that Li Sumei was Ali, a woman who was full of hatred for him. Everything he did against Wang Bing should have been secretly resolved by this woman, and she also bought off his confidants and guards. Thinking of the feeling of being with this woman, the feeling of love between you and me. At this moment, Gan Xinren felt a chill on his back. Such a woman is really terrible. What he didn't know was that Li Sumei was actually acting herself, and her feelings and love for him were real, but every time, it would turn into deeper and deeper pain and hatred. Sui, who was standing by, was stunned. Even TV dramas didn't dare to shoot like this. Wasteland actually had such a deformed love triangle. No, 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 this is not true, you lied to me. After listening to Wang Bing's explanation, Gan Xinren almost went crazy. No wonder he felt a sense of deja vu about Li Sumini. No wonder the tacit understanding between the two was unparalleled. No wonder after the two met, his women either had accidents or disappeared without a trace. No wonder, after so many years, none of his other women got pregnant. It's terrifying to think about it. He actually lived in the cage they had for more than 20 years. Ho, this is the paternity test I did early. I am Wang Dong's father, I am Ali's husband, and you are just a prey. Looking at Gan Xinren on the verge of collapse, Wang Bing laughed unscrupulously. As he spoke, he took out a yellowed piece of paper from his bosom. This was the paper version that he had saved with great difficulty. It was for one day. He could throw it directly on Gan Xinren's face, and then point at his nose and scold him, "You are the big idiot." More than 20 years. He had endured for more than 20 years, watching his wife flirting with a third party, and the hatred accumulated in his heart was no less than that of Li Sumini. Even more than that. Today, he can finally loudly declare his sovereignty to his enemy. This hearty feeling makes him unable to stop. The people around him couldn't help but cast strange eyes at this 10,000-year-old green-haired turtle. But Wang Bing didn't care at all, and continued to bombard Gan Xinren, as if he wanted to vent all the resentment accumulated over the years. Alice. Wang Bing, this old Wang, has simply lost the face of the old Wang next door. Gan Xinren was stunned. He never thought it would be like this. Even 10 years after the catastrophe, he still had to pay for his past romantic affairs. At this moment, his eyes were filled with images of Wang Bing, Li Sumini, and Wang Dong laughing at him. However, in reality, only Wang Bing was laughing and mocking him unscrupulously. Although Li Sumini felt happy that her great revenge had been achieved, she also felt that her soul was being drained. The belief that supported her to live for more than 20 years was suddenly fulfilled. She actually felt like she had no desire to live. As for Wang Dong, he crashed directly in the wave after wave of bombardment and could not react at all. Who am I? Where am I? What am I going to do? Huh? Just when things were about to become a foregone conclusion, Su Wei suddenly felt a sense of threat. Of course, this was not directed at him, but at Gan Xinren, who was sitting on the ground, exuding a chill. Crash. As Su Wei expected, Gan Xin's blade instantly disintegrated and turned into extremely tiny liquid particles, which scattered everywhere. Afterwards, these tiny liquid particles quickly gathered together, and in the blink of an eye, the metallized Gan Xin's blade took shape again. A pool of black liquid was left where he had fallen. What? This guy actually separated the venom. Su Wei, who was hiding in the dark, was shocked. There is actually such a function. Go, kill him. At this time, Wang Bing had also discovered the abnormality of Gan Xin's blade. Although he didn't know what happened, he could still feel the chill emanating from Gan Xin's blade. Wang Bing, Li Sumini, you will pay a heavy price for this. Gan Xin's blade's voice was extremely cold. How could a man who could climb to the top of the pyramid in the wasteland world be simple? Everything just now was just a delay to separate the toxins in the body. Chapter 424 Shadow Guard. Hurry, take advantage of his weakness to kill him. At Wang Bing's urging, the group of betraying guards gritted their teeth and rushed towards Gan Xinren. However, Gan Xinren, who was no longer troubled by the poison, almost recovered his peak combat power. Although he was a little damaged, he didn't need to use all his strength to deal with these guards. Swish! He saw his hands turned into sharp blades and attacked the guards madly. Screams came one after another. In a few breaths, the group of betraying guards were all dismembered and scattered everywhere. This is the true strength of Gan Xinren, the second demon general of the demon realm. You don't come over. Wang Bing was directly frightened. Although he was a 7-star evolver, due to the care of Li Sumini and the protection of Gan Xinren, he rarely experienced actual combat, let alone such a cruel fight. Do you think she really loves you? She's just using you. Do you know that every time she's with me, she really shows her true feelings? You big idiot. Go to hell. Gan Xinren's metal eyes flashed with an evil light. In the 10 years of the disaster, he had killed countless people, so how could he be defeated by such a small thing in front of him? As he said that, Gan Xinren's sharp blade swung towards Wang Bing without hesitation. Although Wang Bing tried his best to gather his strength, he still had an irresistible feeling. Dead, watching the sharp blade getting closer and closer. Wang Bing's inner fear reached the extreme. Bang! At this moment, a fist stretched out from the void and collided with a sharp blade. An overwhelming force swept over in an instant. The defenseless Ganzinran immediately turned into a ball, flew backwards, and hit the throne more than 10 meters away before stopping. With a click, the throne was instantly smashed to pieces. Ganzinran stood up quickly and looked behind Wang Bing. His metallic ability greatly increased his resistance to physical attacks. Although he looked embarrassed, he actually did not suffer any substantial damage. A man covered in black appeared there silently. Just now, it was his light punch that perfectly neutralized Wang Bing's full-strength attack. The strong wind from the collision did not even blow Wang Bing's clothes. Phantom Thief X, Wang Bing's first reaction when he saw the black-clothed figure was to kneel on his knees, as if he was worshipping him. In fact, he was so scared that his legs were weak. Seeing that he was saved, he could no longer hold on and knelt on the ground. "Get up, I'm not used to being worshipped by others." The man who came was Phantom Thief X, played by Su Wei. Under his cloak, a smooth chin was revealed, and the corners of his mouth curled up, revealing an evil smile. Wang Bing's face flushed with shame, and he hurriedly got up from the ground. Although it was a bit embarrassing, he was saved after all. Phantom Thief X, Ganzinran's metallized eyeballs still showed the pupils shrinking. Su Wei's appearance was beyond his expectation, and the strength displayed by Su Wei made him feel daunted. Snap! Ganzinran dared not be arrogant anymore, and hurriedly raised his hand and clapped twice. There was a sound of metal collision. Hualala! Suddenly, a group of soldiers in black armor rushed in from all directions. They wore black metal masks, held new alloy swords, and walked in unison. The friction sound of metal armor was sonorous and powerful. "This is Ganzinran's real guard, Shadow Guard. Hey, you can't arrange this." Looking at the shadow guards pouring into the hall, Su Wei turned his head and looked at Wang Bing on the side. Understood. Wang Bing also blew the whistle to call people. Hualala! Another group of soldiers in khaki metal armor rushed in and surrounded the shadow guards. It was the guards of Kixing Palace. "Wang Bing, I didn't expect that. I still underestimated you," Ganzinran said as he looked at the guards pouring in. He didn't expect that Wang Bing had infiltrated so deeply. But thinking about it made him feel relieved. Without the help of the guards, how could he have planned this rebellion? Humph, but, you all have to die, shadow guards, kill them. Ganzinran changed the subject and immediately gave the order. The shadow guards immediately turned around and fought fiercely with the guards who had just poured in. The shadow guards won in strength, while the guards won in numbers. For a while, they fell into a stalemate. In the center of the hall, Ganzinran rushed up again, his hands turned into sharp blades, and chopped straight at Su Wei. Because he knew that as long as he killed this sudden Thief X, then Kixing Palace would still be his. Cannon hammer. Su Wei was naturally busy, and he greeted him with a pair of iron fists. And his speed was faster than Ganzinran. The iron fist flashed past a blade and hit Ganzinran's face. The huge punch force directly knocked the metallized chin crooked, and several broken metal teeth flew out. Ganzinran's blade broke without being attacked, and the whole person fell heavily to the ground, smashing a big hole in the hard rock brick floor. However, the advantage of the metal body lies in defense. Although it looks severely deformed, it is not much damage. With the ability of metal liquidization, Ganzinran quickly recovered. Even the broken teeth flowed back and merged into the body, and new metal teeth grew in his mouth. Iron Mountain Lean. Ganzinran just stood up, and before he could react, Su Wei quickly approached him and knocked him down again with an Iron Mountain Lean. The huge impact force caused serious grooves on Ganzinran's body. However, under the effect of metal liquidization, it quickly recovered. In the following battle, it was basically Su Wei who pressed Ganzinran and beat him wildly, just like beating a sandbag. But relying on the power of his supernatural power, Ganzinran, who was scattered, could also recondense in an instant. He was known as the indestructible cockroach. Oh my god, this guy is so annoying. After Su Wei's attack, the opponent was just panting like a cow, and no other injuries could be seen. However, this beating. Not only did the others stare in amazement, but even Ganzinran himself began to doubt his life. Who is this guy? Why is he so perverted? No, it's not suitable to stay here for long. As long as the Green Mountains remain, there will be no shortage of firewood. Ganzinran, who had learned his lesson, decided to flee from here immediately and stay away from the devilish man in front of him. Although his supernatural power is powerful, it also consumes energy. If he continues to be carried away like this, he will be beaten to death. So, Gan Xinren took the opportunity of Su Wei's punch to his chest and controlled his body to fly out of the window. Want to run? No way. Su Wei immediately checked the opponent's intention. And at a speed that was almost flashing, he blocked Gan Xinren's way, kicked him back into the hall with a flying kick. Fuck, Gan Xinren cursed inwardly, but he moved quickly. With a splash, his whole body turned into a pool of mercury-like metallic liquid, and then quickly flowed towards the floor drain beside him. As long as he entered there, no one would be able to catch him. What's more, he has no physical body now, so even if you want to catch him, you can't. Chapter 425, Absurd Battle. Clang. Just as Gan Xinren rushed down the floor drain frantically, Su Wei suddenly had a glass bottle in his hand and smashed it out without hesitation. The glass bottle fell not far from the floor drain and broke instantly, splashing out a yellow, slightly thick liquid. A few drops of the splash liquid fell into the metal liquid, and suddenly bursts of white smoke appeared, and a pungent smell suddenly floated in the air. Gan Xinren suddenly felt a bone-eating and heart-biting pain, which frightened him so much that he braked quickly, but due to the effect of inertia, the edge of the metal liquid still rubbed against the yellow liquid. A violent reaction occurred immediately, and a large amount of white smoke emerged. The bone-eating and heart-biting pain came again, making Gan Xinren want to die, but it was a pity that he couldn't make a sound in liquid form. Otherwise, he would definitely wail continuously. However, this also brought a strong visual impact to everyone. Modern version of Aqua Regia. Since time and space is static, this Aqua Regia is the same as the new configuration, and the effect is very good. Clang. Su Wei's hands kept moving, throwing glass bottles like a magician, and each bottle hit the target accurately. Not long after, the pool of metal liquid that Gan Xinren turned into was completely covered by Aqua Regia. For a moment, bubbles burst out and white smoke rose. Everyone's eyelids jumped. Even the battle between the Shadow Guard and the Guard Army stopped. Who has ever seen such a situation? The boiling metal liquid twisted wildly and condensed into the shape of a person, emitting an extremely miserable wail. At that time, under the strong corrosive effect of Aqua Regia, his facial features could not be formed at all. Even the body that had just condensed was like a heated ice cream, gradually softening and melting, and finally turned into a pool of brown thick water. This incident taught us a truth, that is, believe in science. After Su Wei heard that Gan Xinren had the ability to liquefy metal, he thought of a classic scene in film and television, using the corrosiveness of lead acid to dissolve a super modern liquid metal robot. So, he took the time to go back to the modern world and prepared a large amount of Aqua Regia. Unexpectedly, this guy is so weak to corrosion, and it only takes 10 bottles to finish it. There are still several boxes in the space. Since Gan Xinren's wailing, the whole place fell into silence. It was so quiet that only the occasional evening breeze made a slight sound. Done, we're done, I'll leave this to you, I'll go back to sleep first. Su Wei clapped his hands and turned to walk out of the cabinet. Wherever he passed, everyone retreated. The next morning, everything was normal in Kixing Palace. But a shocking message came out that the second demon general Gan Xinren drank too much and indulged in too much last night, and unfortunately died. Kixing Palace was taken over by Wang Bing. When this news came out, the crowd was in an uproar. A 7th level awakener died of excessive indulgence? What did he do? A female tyrannosaurus? However, no matter how absurd the news was, Gan Xinren's death was a fact. Then it is reasonable for Wang Bing, who ranks second, to take over. It only took 3 days for Wang Bing to become the new owner of Kixing Palace. It can be seen that he and Li Sumei had made a thorough arrangement. In addition to Gan Xinren's overwhelming strength, everything else was controlled by the two. Even if Su Wei did not appear, the change of the owner of Kixing Palace would be a matter of course. This Wang Bing is definitely not a fuel-saving lamp. Therefore, Su Wei is just a catalyst to speed up the progress of the situation. Unexpectedly, Li Sumei committed suicide that night. Perhaps as Gan Xinren said, she could not forget that relationship from beginning to end. While destroying Gan Xinren, she also destroyed her last chance of survival. As for Wang Dong, I don't know what happened, he became silent and looked like a different person. The dead are gone, and the living must continue. On the surface, Wang Bing had the last laugh and became the biggest winner. Little did he know that he had fallen into Su Wei's control. Without Li Sumei's restraint, Phantom Thief X became his biggest reliance. Many former members of Qixing Palace were intimidated by this and joined Wang Bing. Therefore, Su Wei became the master behind Wang Bing. 3 days later, the Demon King summoned him. Su Wei naturally did not go. Who knows what is hidden in the old Demon King's lair? The title of Demon Realm Warrior fell on Wang Dong. Wang Bing also became the commander of this expedition, and set off the next day. Without waiting for Su Wei to speak, Wang Bing tried his best to invite Su Wei to accompany him. In his opinion, as long as K-Tao X followed him, he would be invincible. At that time, he would return triumphantly. Not only can his son enter the Demon King capital, but he himself can also go further. So, a team of more than 20,000 people marched towards Phaeton. Seeing this, do you think this battle can still be fought? Under Su Wei's remote control, the Demon Realm army obediently got into the encirclement of the Phaeton army. In panic, they didn't even fire a single shot. The headquarters of the Demon Realm army fell. Generals such as Wang Bing, Wang Dong, Pu Jian, etc. were knocked down by a bottle of sleepy bugs, and then they were all killed by the hidden wolf cavalry called by Su Wei. Now, the Demon Realm army was completely dumbfounded. The commander was captured and the army was surrounded. How can they fight? Just surrender directly. When Su Wei ordered to receive the prisoners, the scene was heart-wrenching. Thousands of Phaeton expeditionary forces fell from the sky. Brand new power armor and standard energy weapons scared the Demon Realm army silly. Is this still the end of the wasteland? In an instant, I felt that I was not as good as the primitive people. Fortunately, they didn't really fight, otherwise, they wouldn't be enough for a round of shooting. So far, the expedition plan planned by the Demon Realm Demon King for a long time has been aborted. This battle is also known as the most ridiculous battle in history and has been recorded in history. Every time it is mentioned, it makes people laugh and cry, but it has to be called a classic. Su Wei also expressed helplessness about this. He just wanted to be an undercover agent, spy on the military situation, and get some supplies. He never thought it would be so smooth. Fortunately, the Demon King drove them out in advance. If Su Wei stayed in the Demon Realm for a while, I'm afraid he would lose his position as the Demon King. Jokes aside, the victory is real. Without firing a single shot, more than 20,000 Demon Realm troops were captured. This made the Phaeton Expeditionary Forces record brilliant. They happily escorted the prisoners to the Phoenix Nest base. It's time to open this sub-base. At that time, it was considered to facilitate the escort of prisoners. Su Wei directly sent a message to Zhang Ling and Yu Na, and led the army to retreat hundreds of kilometers. Then an ambush was set up near the Phoenix Nest base. Let the Demon Realm army come to the door obediently. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.